Walk me through the day that you ended up getting blown up and shot.
The Taliban hate getting wet. They don't go through canals. And we had this one little area that we weren't taking it every day. We were taking enough for it to become kind of like this is where they get sloppy. I caught 3 rounds.
You caught 3 rounds?
I caught 1 in the back plate, 2 in the front striker, and this grape row. They prepped it perfect. They put a pressure plate in. I remember the 2 Coke cans, that clack. I just couldn't breathe for a second. And I felt like I got kind of pushed, kind of turning and falling a little bit. Could not stop throwing up. So I bruised my left lung, bruised my stomach. My brain swelled for them to be like, are we cutting his head open or not?
All right, dude. This is going to be a little bit of a different podcast for a couple of different reasons. Well, first off, Brenden, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to finally have you. We met up a while back at some networking event at some
2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
And I got talking to you. We got introduced, and they're like, dude, you got to talk to this vet. He's been through some crazy shit, but he's doing some even crazier stuff now, helping with connecting nerves in the mind and PTSD and helping prevent suicide was this big thing. And I'm like, okay, like I love, and that sparked in me was, okay, cool. There's a veteran making a difference or trying to.
Yeah.
And so some times past, I've watched, you've watched, and you've now grown this company,
Neuro
Labs, which we just talked about. I was going to screw it up every time. Where you're using these VR sets to now help people, and this isn't just for veterans, which is incredible. But I feel the PTSD, TBI, brain injuries, it really falls on military, and then I would say underneath maybe athletes. But we forget about the law enforcement, the first responders, the parents that have gone through trauma, men, women, children. Everybody go through some pretty
humans.
Okay.
We forget people.
Yeah. And so
right?
we're humans, and we all go through the same, even though one's in war, one might be in traffic, one might be a burglary, whatever it may be. There's all kinds of ways that either tweak little things in our mind. And this is something that you got really passionate about because obviously you're a U.S. military service member. Served in the Army. You were blown up and shot in Afghanistan. You're a Purple Heart recipient. You came back. You were watching a ton of your boys, which we all have, start taking their lives. And it's one of the most frustrating things on this planet, especially when there's guys that you're looking up to, dudes that you thought were the strongest mentally. And then all of a sudden you get this news and it rocks you. And so you wanted to make a difference. You started getting into this. You're also a cancer survivor.
Thank God.
Thank God, big time on that. So we have a lot to cover today, but this is going to be a really cool one because I feel this is, well, you can obviously are going to, be able to build more on this.
Yeah.
This is changing veterans because there's this disconnect between, there's so much of the mind we have no idea about. And we're obviously with new technology, with this incredible VR set that I'm sitting here staring at, that it's helping guys in so many different ways. And obviously you're kind of spearheading this and writing this new wave of how to connect nerve connections and then how I'm going to let you get into the nerd side of this thing, so I don't want to butcher it anymore. So, all right, dude, let's jump into it like we do every episode. Who are you? Where are you from?
My name is Brenden Borrowman. I'm from West Jordan, Utah. It's probably
West
the most
Jordan.
accurate title. Yeah.
How was that growing up?
It was awesome. I mean, I was a hoodlum. So for those of you who know me, part of why I ended up joining the Army is because my life was going nowhere quick. I was a dumb street hustler kid selling drugs. I grew a beard at 13.
That's a hell of a beard, by the way. I got like the Joe Dirt patch, so I respect a good
This
beard.
is a 2-day beard, just kidding. No, so I started growing facial hair at 13. At 14, I looked like I was 20. So I was like in this weird, perfect spot of like, I was so young, if I did get caught, that like nothing would happen. But I looked old enough where like on the weekends I was in clubs and Thursday, Friday, I was selling drugs at the homecoming or whatever, you know. And
no shit.
So I was a dumb hoodlum. So don't do that, children. It's really bad. And I was going nowhere quick, and I kind of got in trouble. And the guys I was selling drugs for and everything else, I needed a way out. And the military was kind of the perfect option. Was my grandfather during Vietnam lied about his age, and he dropped out in like the 3rd grade. hitchhiked around the country, was an usher in New York in a movie theater, and then was like picking crops in California, like just did kind of everything. And then Vietnam popped up and he's like, here's an opportunity. I went to Vietnam. So you have this, elementary level dropout who through his career in the Navy became an E1. He retired as a Master Chief.
No
Warrant
kidding.
3 with 4 college degrees. And, like he made his life and was kind of a hero to me. So I went to him. I was like, hey man, I need to get out of here. I'm not going to graduate high school. I haven't been all year. Like if I stay here, I'm going to end up dead or in jail. And he took me to the Navy recruiters, and I walked in. I'm this 15-year-old cocky kid that looks like he's in his 20s. And they're like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be a Navy SEAL. And they all laughed at me. The awesome thing is they all laughed at me. The walls are so thin, the Army recruiter next door heard it.
No.
So as we were walking out, I had this Army recruiter waiting. He goes, hey, man, we got Navy SEALs. And my grandpa was like, no, get in the truck. So we got in his truck. He took me home. I was like, they got 2 hours till they close. I hopped on my bike and rode all the way back.
No.
So it's like a 3 mile from where I was living to where this recruitment was off. I like hustled ass back there, walked in. I was like, all right, tell me about these Navy SEALs the Army has. Because the only thing back then that you knew about for like special forces were Navy SEAls. Mm-hmm. So you had like the Charlie Sheen movie, and like they were the ones doing really good marketing. I had no idea any other branch even had special forces. He's like, all right, tell me about these Navy SEAls. And he shows me a recruitment video for the 19 Delta Cav Scout. And I was like, dude, they're driving dirt bikes and jumping out of planes, and they have tanks too. Like this is battlefield. Like this is what I want to do. So he made me he was like, hey, if you come to my office Monday through Friday and you PT with me, I will give you, when you're 16, I'll pay for your GED personally. You'll go get your GED, and if you get your GED, then I'll make sure you get your ASVAB. You pass your ASVAB, I'll enlist you.
That's a hell of a recruiter.
Awesome recruiter. And so that's what I did Monday through Friday I turned 16 like a month later. And then I spent 6 months in his office, pretty much Monday through Friday. They had me do all the stuff they'd have a private in the office do. And then I PT'd with the entire office. And I got my GED, and then I got my ASVAB. And he's like, hey, there's some other options. I'm like, nope, I want that one. Like, I want 19 Delta. And he's like, hey, dude, like, there's some great, you got a 132 on your GT. Like, there's some good jobs. I was like, nope. I want to jump out of planes and ride dirt bikes and shoot tanks. Like, that's the one. He's like, all right. So I enlisted. So I got in, and right at 17, I got emancipated. So
What year was this?
It's 2009.
Okay.
So he did like a gangster move. He came with me to my dad's house, who I wasn't living with. And we sat at the kitchen table. He goes, hey, here's the paperwork for his emancipation. You can sign it now, or we can go outside and come back in and sign it after. My dad was like, I'll sign it.
Your recruiter?
My recruiter was a gangster. So he helped me get emancipated. So I got emancipated. My dad's like, good luck. Don't come back. And then I went to OSIT, and then at OSIT, I was writing OSIT. So one station unit trading.
Okay.
So instead of going to like a boot camp and an AIT for CAV and infantry and a couple other MOSs, they throw it all together. So it's 18 and a half weeks of hell, because you don't get like a college experience like most A schools get, it's just boot camp the whole time.
Okay.
And then during that phase, I was like writing my dad letters, stuff. He showed up for my graduation. It was a cool moment for us.
Were you tight with your dad growing up?
No.
At all?
So no, my mom left when I was 7. And then my dad, battled his own demons from growing up on a farm and everything else. And we just, I don't know what it was, man. We didn't click.
It was a different generation then, for sure.
It was not the hearts and minds generation of today. It was more of a let's talk fist and don't show emotion. Yep. So yeah, you grew up in my generation. We're the same age.
The boomer generation.
They were harder people, I think, back then. Parenting was different. There were no participation trophies.
We forget about their parents.
Oh, dude.
And then the trauma that our grandparents left on our parents and then trickled into us.
I didn't find out until I was an adult from like my aunt. So like the stuff that my dad had to go through.
Oh, for sure.
I got beat so bad he's unconscious, and Grandpa dug a hole in the farm with the backhoe. I was like, if he wakes up in the morning and he can come inside. If he doesn't, we bury it. Like, I heard that as an adult. I'm like, man, my childhood wasn't that bad. Yeah. I had a great childhood.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Thanks for the neglect. I'll take that over the years of abuse.
So that was my kind of like inspiration to join military. It's just civilian life as a teenager didn't work for me.
Yep.
I see a little bit of it in my teenage son, my 15-year-old, of just being really smart and being bored. And I'm like, oh man, it terrifies me, because that was me, and I ended up into some stupid shit. Like, I can't imagine, not having my presence and my wife's presence in his life. He would probably walk the same path.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for it, because without that childhood, I would definitely not have survived the military or Afghanistan or 2 years in a hospital. Like, the mental game for that alone.
Oh,
like, I think the closest explanation I've ever heard about is like prison almost, right? Like, because you're in a hospital and no choice is yours. And it's the same thing. Like Nate, my one of my co-founders and executives are here with us, and we listened to this guy talk. Kyle, who's in solitary confinement for 3.5 years. He's talking about pacing the walls. I was like, man, we didn't do that, but like we did like wheelchair jousting. I think that was like the funnest thing we could do is just stupid Joe stuff in the hallway. But until you start getting off the hospital and passes or weekend passes, like it's pretty much prison. You're stuck in a room.
Isolation. I mean, you're pretty much stuck in the hole. Granted, you got probably a phone or a TV. You get to hear nurses coming in, but I'm sure that gets especially when you're not even being able to be mobile. And that's what a lot of people, I don't really feel how they process people in hospitals.
Yeah.
And you're laying there so long. Some people are laying so long, you're getting bed sores just because you haven't been moved. Yeah. And that's got to be, I mean, you're stuck in your own prison. That's how I explained being on ship. And then when we took ships from San Diego to Kuwait and then into Iraq, there was times where you'd be stuck in the berthing for a week. And it was like prison. And that's how
brutal.
We would just work out, sleep, eat, repeat. And it was just your own little trapped hell being out at sea.
Yeah, so that doesn't sound healthy at all.
No, you'd go like 2 weeks without even seeing daylight.
And the ocean's terrifying. I don't know how you were a Marine. Like I couldn't do it. Navy Marines were cut out just because of that. Like, I don't know why I want to be a Navy SEAL. Like the ocean scares the hell out of me. Right. That's how dumb I was as a teenager.
Dude, I've talked to some guys that were SEALs and gone through SEAL training. I had a guy on, but this happened a couple times. It actually happened to a buddy of mine that was in MARSOC doing water training and having like one of the guests that came on, he got rammed by something in the middle of the night on a swim, like
doesn't even know what it was.
Hit him so hard he thought his partner swam into him, and he like comes up and he's like, yo, and screaming for his partner. His partner's like 20 feet over, a little chem stick floating next to him.
Dude, there's a sea lion out there laughing.
Or a shark. And then there was another guy, Chris, he was on, and he was talking about they were doing like a scuba dive swim.
Yeah.
They're all, they got their little light and their little map underwater, and he said all of a sudden something just by him, said massive, was circling him.
Yeah, no, dog.
That to me is where I'm out.
I'll take Bigfoot in the woods.
Bro, I'll take a lion on land. Like, at least I feel like I got some chance of...
I can circle a tree.
Yeah, I try to move. Dude, a shark in the water in the middle of the night, that is max level 10 pure terror for me. I'm out.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There's no way. I would have failed, buds, for sure. Like,
100%. Just that alone. Go through
just
everything.
Ocean phase. Pool, I would have been great. Ocean, nah. I like the Bahamas. I can see through the water. It's warm.
Exactly. Yeah. So you, where were we? You guys?
OSIT.
Yes. Okay.
So went through OSIT, graduated OSIT. If anybody's watched my podcast I did with Brett Gash, that was my drill sergeant. Youngest participant OSIT since Vietnam at Fort Knox on the Disney compound. Yeah. So the Disney PX in that area. So I had my birthday cake in processing. Not a fun experience.
I was going to say, how was that?
I thought OSIT was going to be great. I showed up. Everybody's being super nice. Hey, come here, warrior. Come here, warrior. It's your birthday. Congratulations. You're a man. And then dinner came around. They brought me a little cupcake. They had like the cake trays. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they did in the Marine Corps, but they would tempt you. They brought it over and they had everybody sing happy birthday. And I was like, dude, everybody lied. This place is awesome. And then right after dinner end, I learned real quick that place sucks.
Yep.
So I not only did I have to throw up all the calories I ate, but they kept me in the sandpit till I turned into a sugar cookie, and I was rashed up before it even began. So like I went into hell phase with like already chafed thighs and armpits. Like
God,
brutal. Yeah.
That was just on receiving.
That was on in processing.
Oh my God.
I got wrecked. And then there was a pool of like who could get me to quit. So I had like drill sergeants from other groups coming. We had Marine tankers.
Why so hard on you?
I was 17. Everybody got a pre-brief that I was coming. And they were like, oh, who can get the kid to quit?
No shit.
And I'm an asshole. And I was like, oh, I'm going to ruin all these dudes. And I mean, Brett tells it way better than I do. But I was breaking drill sergeants. Like... Like, oh, I'm stubborn, dude. Like,
I love it.
Told you, I'm like, yeah. At the end of the day, you don't beat me as bad as my dad did. One dude was like, what the hell do I do? Like, he just stopped yelling at me and walked away. Like mid smoke was just like, I'm good.
Valid.
See ya.
You win.
Yeah. It's just gone.
Yeah, this kid's mental game is on a different level.
This kid's crazy. Like, we probably shouldn't let him in.
Yeah, we have to get rid of him now. That or he's going to be the greatest soldier ever created.
Yeah, and I think I was pretty average. So They were all wrong.
Joke's on them.
Joke's on them.
Little did they know.
Yeah. So I did that, and then I went from Knox for OSIT, and then I went to Fort Riley, which is in Kansas, which is the armpit of America.
Okay, why is that?
Because there's nothing there. It's Kansas.
Yeah.
We get tornadoes, which is cool. Really bad winter storms. So I went to 5-4 Cav, was doing a workup for Iraq. My ex-wife was pregnant with my first child, Brenden. And I was supposed to go on a truck deployment. So I trained for a year and a half for a truck workup. During that time, we did like a couple MIT schools. Did they have that in the Marine Corps? Mobile instructional training? Where they'd like bring schools to units. So like you went out to go somewhere for sniper qualifications. So we did a long range marksman course, which is our sniper orientation. So you're qualified to use like the M110 and the 50 cal. So we did a sniper MIT, and then we did like a mini air assault MIT, which is instead of the full air assault program, it's a condensed down version where you can pretty much rappel out of a Black Hawk, get on and off Black Hawk in combat, and then Chinook in and out for combat. So it's just ingress, egress for Cav. My unit goes Iraq. I'm home. My son's born, and I get a call day one. Like my son was born, like 6 hours later, my rear D first sergeant calls, congratulations. You have 7 days of maternity leave, and I'm expecting like when I'm loaded Iraq. He goes, hey, during this maternity leave, I need you to go to processing and you turn in your gear and then get your new issue. And I was like, oh, new issue. Yeah, you're gonna go to 4-4 Cav. You're going to Afghanistan in 14 days. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to Iraq. He's like, no, man, you're going to Afghanistan in literally 2 weeks. So
what a military thing to do.
Thank you, Army.
This is, I would say, typical Marine Corps. I'm glad. This makes me happy knowing that this happens in the Army.
Thanks,
too.
Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Needs of the Army.
I was looking at like hey, we're gonna have a swimming pool on the weekends to, we're just driving route clearance, bullshit Iraq deployment, stack cash, and have fun, work out. To the briefings for the unit we were ripping with, they're like, hey, they're losing a guy every other week. Everybody's gotten a Purple Heart. Like it's where you're going is like it's the Wild West, and it ended up being the Wild West. We set the most records for ticks and mortar rounds called in a firefight. So I went there, and then telling my ex-wife this all, like, it's gonna be fine. This is good. This is what I signed up for. It's gonna be awesome. Don't worry. And I think I had her convinced till the day before we left. We had like the whole unit briefing, and everybody from 4-4 Cav probably remembers this. Like our sergeant major got up and gave like a Hal Moore speech for the ages.
Okay.
Awesome speech. Colonel got up and was like, women, love your men, fuck your men, because they're probably going to die. And then walked off stage. And everyone was like, what the hell did he just say? What? And I'm telling him, he's just joking. He's a funny guy. Like, he's joking. Relax. And she's crying. A bunch of other wives crying. I was like, this sucks. Like, that was so morale-inducing. Thank you, Colonel.
Yeah, what a
dickhead.
turd.
And then all the captains went up, did their things, and kind of got it back on track. But Colonel Catone's I won't get into his defamation on this podcast, but
we'll save that one for another one.
Yeah.
Bro, who would do that, especially as a colonel? And you guys are getting ready to deploy.
We're getting ready to go into like the meat grinder of Afghanistan at the peak.
And he tells the wives this?
He tells everybody. We haven't even gotten like a full brief on where we're going yet. This is like we don't know our AO. Like we don't know like what to expect. We're just being told like, yep, you might die. We're like, all right, this is awesome.
Can't wait.
This is what we signed up for, boys. We're doing like the rah. This is amazing.
That's what we do.
The dumb stuff. Yeah, that's what we do. And so we got ready. We deployed. We went through Manas, like probably everybody through Afghanistan. Our 2-week kind of acclimation period got cut in half. So like you get there, you get your self-defense magazine for the base. We all got one of those, and they're like, hey, we're gonna load up. We're going to Wilson. So we're like, awesome. We get on the Chinooks. Chinooks are going out. Our Chinooks touch down, and there are dudes telling you to drop your bag and then run to the Blackhawks. And we're like, what the hell's going on? So we drop our rucksacks and our A bags, like a just pile of shit. I run over getting on Blackhawks, and we're in the air. And I plug in, and all I hear is like, all right, you guys ready? Like, they're the compound's under attack right now. And we're all looking around like, what? Like, yeah. We're going to put you guys in on the south side. You guys are going to walk in. And I'm looking around. Sergeant Butler's looking around. I was like, how many magazines does everybody have? One. And the gunners start handing us their mags. Like,
they're dropping you off.
Yeah, we took JFM. So 101st had JFM, and the compound was under a live attack, and we were going in for our rip. So we ran into JFM, right? Like, thank God.
What's
the
JFM?
Or JFM's like the little compound they took over.
Okay.
And as we were flying in, it was being attacked. Thank God 101st, those badasses put it down right as we were touching down. So we touched down, ran in, not under fire, but like as we were flying there the whole time, we're like, this sucks. Like, he wasn't kidding. We're all going to die. This is awesome.
So reality's 100% checking
reality's
you right now.
kicking you in the gut. Like, it was just like this sucks. Like, try to look cool, don't look panicked. Like, I kept playing it in my head, like, as long as you look like everything's fine,
Everything's
going to be fine. Like, just look fine for the Joes. Like, this is going to be fine. We're good. And then we ran in, and I remember just like that 300-yard run the whole time. I'm like, dude, what am I doing here? Like, I could have been a cook. Why did I choose this? Like, the inner monologue the whole time is just like, why the hell are we here? Then we got in, and yeah, I'll never forget the 101st. So the week before we got there, they lost their last dude. And so, like, these guys are mourning. They just got done with a firefight, and like, rank doesn't exist to them. Like, everybody's first name basis bullshit. And we're walking in, we're like, this is not the Army I know. Like, what the hell's going on? No one's in like real uniforms. We're like,
No.
what the fuck? Where are we? Like, this is not what a deployment's supposed to be, right? So like, all of us are here like, oh, they're so ate up. No wonder they keep losing dudes. And then the battle tempo and fatigue hits, and like, within 2 months we were in the same state. Like,
Yeah, your operation stay alive.
you're just burnt, like fatigue. And so like, I remember getting in there looking around being like, oh, these dudes are not put together. And then after they left, like within 3 weeks, I was like, oh my God, I totally get it. Like, yeah, I'm in boxers on the wall with my rig not even Velcroed up, responding to contact, because it just, who cares anymore? That's where we got. And then it just became fun. And, we have there's a handful of YouTube videos out there that I'm sure none of us are that, impressed about or it makes us look good, but I don't think any of us are in a solid uniform for any of those videos.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's just...
Well, people need to understand, too, you're living in the remote mountains of Afghanistan.
Baby wipes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's when it comes... And then, obviously, the tempo of firefights. I mean, how often are you guys getting...
3 a day.
3 firefights a day?
Yeah, we have 3 ticks a day on average.
On the compound?
Yeah.
So was your compound down in like a valley or something?
Yeah, so we're... where the Argonaut River kind of comes down?
I was only in Kabul the whole entire time.
All right, so the foothills come down, and then... it turns into this where the Argonaut comes down. It kind of where Pakistan meets this Haji Ramadan corridor. It's like the the number one rat line going into Afghanistan for munitions for the Taliban in 2009 to 2012. So SOF's mission was to shut that down. We ended up shutting it down. The Cav, 44 Cav, Task Force Spartan. Shout out to my Spartans out there with 10th Mountain and the joint task force we were on. We ended up completely crippling it. But
really,
the tip of that came down, and you had Alpha Troop, and then you had our troop just sitting right at the peak of that tip, and it was constant. It was all day, every day. And then we were done. We're like, you know what? Let's go out and get more. So, you'd get like the compound to get hit, and then we'd go, all right, we're going to go do a foot patrol. And then we'd get back, and then we'd send out another foot patrol. And then, all right, we're going to go do senior leader engagement. Let's go poke the bear and go out and just start hammering. Like, the entire intent was to bring G Action to us so we can put them down and start learning how to react to their contact, not at the same time realizing they were learning us. They're pretty damn smart.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, that was Afghanistan in a nutshell for us, was just react. It was all reactive and trying to be proactive, but it wasn't. It was like, let's walk around till they shoot at us, or show presence.
Isn't it crazy looking back now when they're like, well, we're going to go find it, boys. And then we'd all be, yeah, let's go find it. And then you look back at how knowing everything we know now, and you're like, bro, how stupid. How stupid for us. I mean, but then again, at the same time, it's the mindset of these young kids, and you join the military, obviously, to defend your country. But I hear so many stories. I just had a buddy of mine on. He was a sniper in the Rangers. Bro, they just go into these villages, fucking swack everything. They raise an American flag right in the middle of them and be like, come and get it.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, we're here. Come at it.
Yeah.
And then they just drop mortars on people all day. They just mortared everything.
I think we had more mortars called in like a 3-hour window than ever. It was.
So your mortar team got good.
Oh, we had not only our mortar team, but we had supporting overlap fires from other bases we were calling for indirect fire from. Like, those artillerymen got their work in. Like, we had this giant thick foliage tree line, and we call in, like, we had Apaches run it. We had a couple Warhawks come through and we'll run it. But it was so thick of foliage that like that's where they would be hitting us from. And so we're like, you know what? Let's chop the trees. You know, we gave the coordinates and they dropped so much artillery when we got done. Like, I don't think anything can grow there. It was just
glass,
barren, like barren. And then it was so funny because you'd watch them on like the ITAS, which is it's an LRAS thermal kind of binocular system, go out 2 miles and has a tow rocket attached to it.
Jeez.
And we would watch these dudes on heat signature kind of walk to that area, and then you'd see them look around like there are no trees. Like they would just kind of look around like, and then they would turn around and walk away. And you'd be like, yeah, they thought it through. Like that's good for them. They'll live another day.
What's it like dealing or being on the ground with that much artillery coming in constantly?
Hell on earth. It was like 1 or 2 is really cool. Like, woo, you cheer, you take a video. The constant bombardment is like, I now understand that the secondary concussions we were getting from overblast.
Oh, you're that close?
Oh, yeah. You're talking 200, 250 meters from the wall. Like after I left, we had an embedded reporter, Michael Young. You guys can look this up. 2 weeks after I was medevaced out, someone messed up the coordinates and dropped a JDAM on our compound.
No.
Yeah. Like bad. So
they dropped a JDAM on their own
on us. Yeah.
What did that do?
So
was your whole unit gone at this point?
No. So I got medevaced out.
Oh yeah.
And then 2.5. So I got medevaced out May 1st. The unit came in the end of May. Guys were going back with like serious TBI. Thank God nobody died. I don't know how. God's real.
They dropped
they dropped a JDAM and nobody died
on their own base
on us. It landed. I don't know if it landed right outside the wall or if it was like in the corner of the motor pool.
Bro, it doesn't even matter.
So we had, and it like guys were bad TBI, just horrific mistake. But I mean, it's not that hard to make a mistake when you're talking a couple 100 yards for call for fire. Like,
and people also need to realize when you're calling in a 10-digit grid, one number in a combat zone, under fire, the chaos, the fog of war. That's why with JTAC and guys that is their specific job in mortar.
Wizards.
Man, I give them so much credit.
I had a green marker and I would write all of my cheats on my arm before every mission, and then I'd wash it off because black stays, green doesn't. So like a green Sharpie, you can actually wash that off the night before, and you won't have like the leftover shadow if you use a black Sharpie. I had a staff sergeant teach me that trick, and so like every mission, it looked like we had like tribal green tattoos because we were like written grid coordinate here, like all of our cheat sheets for 9-line, whatever we needed.
Yeah.
You know, we were not in the days now where guys have like cell phones, the flip downs, and they have like the cheat. Dude, you guys are pussies.
Bro. That's
no
like
skill anymore.
All these drones and stuff, they're all bragging about, like, shut up.
Yeah,
dude.
Shut up. You're not tough.
You see them, they fold their little shit down, and we're all like,
so cool.
We're like, where are we?
Yeah, dude, I'm like looking at a map with a protractor, like, I look like a 3D.
Shooting an azimuth direction.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Which way's north? Like, nothing's working.
No, hell no. It was all old school. So we had all the right now. And then like halfway through the point, somebody went on R&R and came back with like a football playbook.
The Velcro pullover ones.
From like high school.
Uh-huh.
They're like, yeah, I'm going to write on this from now on. And they like laminated their grid coordinates and stuff. But yeah, so that, I don't know. I can't explain it other than like when I was there at 19, that was the life I wanted.
For sure.
I was living the life. Like I got to
sure.
do a real scout mission, 4-man OPs, like, you know, shit that we never would have been able to do if I went to Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
Like most cav guys I've met, they're like, wait, you did what? Yeah, we got to do real scout missions. Like we got to do the cool shit that I saw in that recruitment video I got to do. And now as an adult, right, as a grown up with children, I'm like, and with a child that's a year or two away from what I was there, oh my God.
Terrifying.
Oh, it's not only terrifying, but it's the brainwashing that had to have gone into making me believe that was the coolest thing on earth. Like, thank you for paying your taxes so I can have this job. Like, that was Brenden back then. And, you know, I'm not proud of it. I was people that I served with back then, either they love me or hate me because it's just my personality back then. Like, there's now everybody I think that I interact with, if they don't love me, they at least can like me or tolerate me, work with me. Back then it was either I love you or I hate you.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
I want you dead or I love you and I'm going to die for you. And that's what made the military so safe too, because you could hate me, but you would die for me. Civilian world, that doesn't exist.
Oh,
Not at all.
And that's actually a good thing how you point that out, because not a lot of, they always ask like, why is the military so tight? Like the brotherhood, we always hear about the brotherhood. So, dude, two of my best friends, we
hated each other.
Oh, hey, dude, couldn't even be in the same row of formation without almost going at it. Best friends, because you're stuck in that environment. Even though you want to beat that dude's ass, you'll do anything for him.
And Joel's going to watch this and be like, that was me. Like, Joel and I went through OSIT together.
Okay.
And then our first couple units, and we hated each other. We got to in-processing at Riley, and I didn't have any clothes, civilian clothes. Guy enlisted with a uniform the recruitment office gave me, so I had nothing. And I couldn't leave base as a 17-year-old without a chaperone, because I was still technically a child.
Yeah.
That's what the Army called me.
Hilarious.
Go die for a country, but I can't leave on my own.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And so one of the NCOs was like, hey, you have a car, take him to the mall so you can get regular clothes. And we were the whole way to Manhattan, Kansas, like 30-minute drive. I looked out the window and I'm like, my body turned. And his body was turned. And he's like, don't fucking tell anybody I did this. I'm like, all right, man, don't talk to me. And then we got there and we went to the Hollister, and I was like in the Hollister angled mirror with the light. And I was looking at my 6-pack. I was like, damn, this mirror's awesome. At the same time, he's like, dude, this mirror's awesome. We're like stepbrothers. We just become friends.
Quick.
We went from like, I will beat the hell out of you until either one of us dies, to best friends at a mall.
Yeah.
Shopping for clothes. Like, how dumb does that sound?
That's how it happens,
12-year-old girls. Like, you know? Oh man, those are good times.
But that's all it takes, is that little bit of bond and be like, oh man, all right, yeah. And then he's shooting shit all the way home, and then then it just starts from there. That's dude, one of my best friends to this day. We didn't get along, and I was down in a he's gonna listen to this motherfucker. I was down in the oil change bays for like Jiffy Lube or whatever. But that was like that for our vehicles. Motor pool. Yeah. So our tanks would, roll in, and we could drain plugs and everything underneath them. Anyways, I'm down inside of it and I'm talking, but I got my hands up, but apparently my fingers were kind of flat on the concrete. And he walks up and steps.
Oh, dude.
And crushes my fingers. And it hurt. I couldn't even scream because he's just, and I yank my hand out. He's like, my bad. And
he came out of there swinging.
And he's got this like crippled leg. I don't know how he made it into the Marine Corps, but when he runs, he like pivots it out.
He's got a pigeon foot.
So he's got to throw it. And so as he's running away from me, he's running all kind of messed up. And I start laughing my ass off because he just looks so retarded.
Did you guys call him Gimbal?
No, we call him a lot of other names.
Yeah.
And then from that point, he saw I was laughing, and I was just like, you son of a bitch. Like, if you didn't run so retarded, I would 100% beat your ass, because I would have caught him.
I would have hunted you down, dude.
Over that though, but dude, all my fingers are just all peeled back, my fingernail, like he crushed my hand, and I was just dying laughing but that was it. But we didn't like each other before that, and boys ever
since. It's so weird, man. And it's what I loved about the military is not only the bond, but like the shared trauma. Like the
trauma bonded.
Not only trauma bonded, but like the people that enlisted for my job came from somewhat of a same background from my childhood trauma. Like almost all military combat arms, like especially in the soft community, but mainly in like big Army combat arms, it's poverty line, violence, childhood trauma. Those are the three things. Most people have all three. And to have guys that had this, they could be from any other part in the country, we have kind of the same parameters of a background. It allowed us to get along quicker.
There's specific units in the military, at least I could speak on the Marine Corps, that attract a specific human being.
Yeah.
And clearly, obviously, you guys did, but for us, it was the same way. I'll never forget being in the pits. We were doing the range pits, pulling targets, and there was a reserve unit next to us. We're all bullshitting. And something got brought up on drug waivers, and they're like, oh no, you can never have a drug waiver for us. And they're like, you guys have drug waivers? And I'll never forget, I yelled down the pit, I'm like, yo, who's got a drug waiver?
And everybody raised their hand.
Damn near everybody, or everybody's like, who had a waiver to get in? And almost 90% of the dudes just raised their hand in the pits. And this whole entire reserve unit was looking at us like, who are you guys? Yeah. Like, what do you guys do?
Stay away from them.
But it was just that specific job where it's just the meathead dudes that had been in trouble, drug waivers, jail waivers. It was either their option, either go to jail or join the military, and they all just ended up funneling into our job. And there's certain jobs in militaries that 100% attract a certain individual. Then it's like the most Animal House craziest time of your life, because instead
It's wild.
Imagine like the class, like how you separate your buddies in class in high school, and now you just have a full classroom full of those
The
people.
same one.
Of the same
Yeah.
person. Yeah, it's the greatest ever.
I tell people, like, if you thought your college experience was cool, try being 17 in a barracks with guys coming back from Iraq, and the highest ranking in the barracks is an E4, and they have not been able to spend their money for a year.
Wild times.
It turned into Van Wilder for 2.5 weeks. They got a 3-week leave block, and it was like they could make movies about it. Like,
This makes me happy
Crazy.
hearing this, because I feel the Army's never on the stories of the Marine Corps. Like, but hearing this, I'm like, oh,
there are the
perfect.
pockets. We have our pockets.
Perfect.
And the Cavs definitely one of those pockets.
That's good to know.
We got these new barracks that had like 2 bedrooms, a shared kitchenette, and a bathroom. And I get to Rear D, and they're, my first unit, and they're like, yeah, you guys are going to set these rooms up. They're all getting back from Iraq in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Get the whole barracks set up. We got it all set up in like 2 days, and then they're like, we had nothing else for you to do, so you just guys kind of hang out. There's 4 of us in this giant ass barracks, and we're like, wonder what it's going to be like when they get back. You're like, what do you think they had over there in Iraq? And you're like going back to the Rear D, and you're looking up like the TIC report stuff. You're like, all right, yeah, they kind of got some scuffles. Like, this is cool. And so you have this picture in your head of like professional soldiers coming back. And then we were there for the reception formation, and I was like, yeah, these guys are legit. This is gonna be a good unit. And then they call the fall out, and everybody goes to barracks, and everybody gets checked in. I'm like, this is normal. And then like 4.5 hours into checkout, all of a sudden you just hear like primate screaming in the whole building. I'm like, what is going on? I go out, and everybody's already hammered. They're in like you can think of like the Village People music video for the YMCA. That is the barracks times 300 privates.
Yes,
like
with money.
I don't know where people got headdresses from, but like most people are like nothing but a road guard vest and Speedos. Like they set up a slip and slide on the 4th floor for the whole hallway. They put plastic from Home Depot and soap, and they were like doing slip and slide shots. Like you'd have to slide down and like grab a room. If you could grab the door joint, you would have to play that room's activity, and you had to do every room if you go to the next floor down. I don't know how people didn't die from alcohol poisoning. Like,
that's honestly a great question.
17 years old playing beer pong with Everclear, and I thought I partied before I joined the military. Like, no.
No. Dude, I've watched my buddy with Everclear. That was my choice. Clear Springs and Everclear.
Everclear's your go-to mix?
That was my go-to. That and lemonade, so I was immediately just tore up. And I'll never forget one night, my buddy, he pours some Everclear in his hand, and he looks at me and goes, light it. And I was like, what?
No.
This dude's a U.S. Marshal now. He travels the world. Like, dude does
We're
this
not going to
crazy.
say his name.
We won't drop names. We'll actually just text him this morning.
Used to be a thug.
Yeah. I light his hand, and our other buddy's standing right there, and he goes, woof, like the blue flame. He just goes, bah! It lights his whole face on fire. But that was an average Friday or Saturday night in the barracks.
If not a Wednesday, depending on the training schedule.
Ours was horrible.
Yeah.
God, it was horrible. But yeah, it was just completely out of control. And the fact that people aren't just dying of alcohol poisoning blows my mind.
And we wonder why our bodies are so beat in our 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
I love that part of the military. I loved everything about the people of the military, the culture. I'm so happy that I was wounded and medically retired, because I couldn't handle the admin of the military, because you try to, it's a conflict of two disciplines that don't belong together.
Explain that.
The guy that will go out in the field, the guys that will go into Iran right now, right? Or like us in Afghanistan, you can put 4 dudes alone on a mountain watching a village of Taliban. That 19-year-old should not be interacting with a dude that pushes paper and comes from a good family and went to college, and he's all about the rules.
I'm here to make a difference.
Those two things should never mix.
For sure.
Right? Like, it's oil and water. They both have their place in the cup. But Garrison shakes that cup up, and we wonder why guys get depressed or suicidal or homicidal or risk behaviors, why they're getting DUIs, and why they're driving their bike 140 miles through the gate. Like, that behavior is because those guys are the break glass case of war, because you need that, 18 to 24-year-old that mentally is ready to go over there and do the things that are demanded of the job. Those don't mix with the gentleman, at the officers club who's making these dumbass rules.
For sure.
And I'm saddened that we still have yet to figure that out.
I thought
all
about
of our
this a
research,
lot.
and we still have not figured out, like, we got to put bumper rails up. Like,
I personally feel that in the military, the non-combat MOSs, I feel we need to start phasing military members out and turning those into civilian jobs.
the contractors.
In the contractors. Like you look at, I'll speak on Camp Pendleton, the whole Maine side. They're never going to deploy unless they're attached to a battalion or a division that maybe might deploy as the division COC. But all of the clerks and admin and check in, check out, the SIF, supply, all that shit that they're never going to deploy, those all need to go away. Those all need to be civilian jobs. So that way you're able to be more selective of the Jews that are joining the military for at least Army, Marine Corps. You're joining to defend your country.
Yeah, you're a warfighter.
You're a warfighter. And that's how it should be. But like these guys that'll sit here and do 20 years and they've never deployed, they sit in some admin, but now you're in charge, you're first sergeant looking over a battalion of grunts and these guys are out of control. No shit. You've sat your whole career behind a desk and now you just got turned a whole platoon full of pit bulls.
We had the same problem with an E5 who was a truck driver. He was an 88 Mike, and he got his 5 and then came over to the Cav and wanted to pretend he knew what he was doing. It's like, dude, my Joe that has only been here for, a year and a half knows more than you do. Like,
for sure.
Don't talk.
For sure.
You're going to get people killed. And I'm frustrated that our decision makers haven't picked that up yet. Like, I talk to a lot of generals now. Like, that's a weird part of the company with Nerova is like, now the tables I'm sitting at are like tables as a 19-year-old I would have been petrified at. And now I'm telling generals like, hey, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
And the one thing I'm always talking about with their Joes, with their suicide rates is we are spending more attention and time and money than ever before. And our numbers are only increasing. Mm-hmm. And there's a disconnect, not only with the physical injury, with what we're doing, but there's this giant disconnect in the leadership and their approach to Joes. Because for some reason, everybody after a certain period of time forgets they used to be a Joe.
Why?
I don't know what happens to them, but there's like this disassociation of I was never that bad. And you see with every generation, I feel like, oh, back in my time, we did it on this podcast with the cell phones. Like, no, back in my time, it was all about azimuth. We all do it, but at the same time, I think most people can have an honesty of like, yeah, I used to be a dumb kid. Like I used to have a bad past. Like as a Christian, I like to tell people like I'm not proud of my past, but I'm happy that I am where I'm at. And
absolutely,
I'm the husband and father and follower of Jesus that I am.
Absolutely.
But I used to be a really bad kid. And I won't say bad person, but I was a bad kid. And most of the leadership seems to somehow separate themselves from that of like who they are now is who they've always been. And that disconnect makes its way to the troops. And that's why troops don't go to command when they have problems.
100%.
They don't want to get punished. They don't want to be looked at differently. Like the safe space that's supposed to exist for when you're struggling doesn't truly exist yet. And I'll say yet in the military. That's why we designed what we designed. I wanted something that privates could go do, not during platoon time, not during training time, something they go back to the barracks and have fun with their friends and actually use, which is a video game.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to reach Joes when they're in the barracks drinking and playing Call of Duty every weekend? Every night. They get off shift, they go to the barracks room, that's what they're doing. So meet them where they're at. That's why we designed it the way we did. But, until leadership takes accountability for their disconnect, nothing will change.
That's one of my biggest frustrations with the military. And that was a big reason I got out. I wanted to career it. And then obviously when my orders got changed and I was like, okay, cool. There's such that disconnect. I have buddies that are all retiring right now or getting ready to retire. I'm at that age. And so, but I'd go and I'd talk to them. They're like, dude, you would not believe what these kids do. I'm like, act like we did it, bro.
Yeah.
You remember this night? Remember when we stole motorcycles and we're throwing them in dumpsters and flipping cars and catching shit on fire? I go, don't forget.
I was there with you.
One of my buddies, he's a major and he hasn't forgot where he came from. But we were talking, I was like, bro, you remember that night we got in that fist fight and I ripped the towel rack off and beat your ass with it and you hit me and Gunny like one of the NJPs. And I'm like, don't forget where you motherfuckers came from. And because a lot of people do. And so, but then I think a lot of those people in the military didn't come from, it happens in the combat MOSs, but a lot of the admin, they weren't absolutely Lord of the Flies, out of control with loincloths and torches.
You should have to be.
But those are the ones I feel have a much harder time forgetting their past, but it happens. But it's a lot of these first sergeants, gunnies and shit that come to new units. And it's like, dude, you were perfect your whole career. That was one thing that I really had a hard time with was punishing punishing my troops because, dude, we were out of control, belligerent, wild. Nobody can control us. And so when my guys would get in trouble, I'd be like, yo, like, hey, this is how you get away with it. Like, don't go in the front. Like this, you little idiots. Like, you got to figure this shit out. Like,
Yeah.
And that was one of my sayings. Don't make me do my job. Don't make me be an asshole to my to my sergeants or then to my troops. I'd always, you rate what you get away with, and that's where like that was my mindset is when I picked up staff and and got to the platoon sergeant level. I can't fry these kids for sneaking some chicks that they met at Coyote Ugly out in Oceanside into the barracks. Like, I can't punish you for that. Technically, I could. I was doing that though, and I'm like, yo, okay, send them home.
We were smarter. Hey, who's on staff duty today? Awesome. I'm buying you. Here's your fast food. Here's $50 and look the other way.
Be smart.
Yeah, like we figured it out. Like, hey, here's a new pack of smokes and go out for a break real quick.
Yeah,
everybody in.
Yeah, shuffle them all.
All right, it's 4 a.m. Get everybody out.
But that's just how it was, and I feel that's what separates the majority of the good leaders from the rest of the leadership of the military is the few that truly never forgot where they came from and to who they were and their roots and their career as they grew as a young troop or whatever it was. But then being able to relate to the young troops now, like, guys, listen, don't get in trouble. Don't make me do my job, and we'll have the greatest time here. But you get those guys with the power trip now, they get the rank, and I'm a master sergeant, I'm a first sergeant. You have to listen to my authority, and it's like, dude, you've lost it at that point.
Well, it's also, I think we need to have like a qualifier here for the general population watching too, of like civilians is what we're talking about you might clutch your pearls a little bit. I'm like, they're doing what?
Oh,
my tax dollars are paying for what? And it's like, for all of what we're talking about from the hoodlum Lord of the Flies stuff is the decompress from the workup and training to go do a job that your nightmares could not imagine when it goes the way you're prepared for. So like you're always preparing for the worst and you're hoping that your deployment goes really well. And there aren't any books written about it. There are no awards given. You really do hope, even when you're a gung-ho kid, you're hoping that things go just fine, or I'm maybe going to get an RCOM at the end of the deployment and, cash in the account when I get back. You're hoping for that. Because when things go bad, all of that aren't like, I can't tell you how many times we'd be in an OP and it just the horror of the environment, right? So the combat fatigue, the firefight fatigue, after you lose somebody, we had 4 uniforms. People don't realize, like, you don't go to Afghanistan or Iraq with, like, a wardrobe.
No.
You go with a handful of outfits. And if those outfits get tore up and dirty, you're taking foot patrol mission with your crotch blown out. If you ripped your crotch running. How many times? Like,
pockets blown out.
Pockets blown out. But, like, if you've put your buddy on a medevac and his blood's all over your uniform and you go back and you wash it, his blood stays on your uniform. And there's a lot of, like, everybody thinks of, like, these awesome firefight moments. Those are moments. The hours of boredom in between the two where your brain starts really, you're looking at your arm and you're smelling throw up and you're just like, oh, you're like, dude, you remember that time we went down to K-Town and you just start talking about all the hoodlum thing shit and it pulls you out. Yeah. It gives you the moment to get to the next one. It gives you that moment to get to the next one. And so when civilians, I feel like, hear these stories, there's that moment of like, I don't want my tax dollars paying for that, or that's not acceptable behavior. There needs to be something for us because we know what happens if there's not. And what happens if there's not ends up with a folded flag and a funeral because most guys quit.
Yep. And
it's not a quit of they made a decision to commit suicide. Their brains quit. Their brains stop working the way they're supposed to. The resources turn off, the oxygen turns off, and they die. They die by suicide, not they may had suicide. Like it's a injury death. And those little tiny moments of decompression, remembering the stories and the bonding moments, I feel like gives us a little bit of grounding and space that the brain can kind of get out of survival state and kind of back into cognition because you're remembering moments, you're laughing.
Yeah.
That's so important to have. And these commanders that are stripping that away from the new Joes, it terrifies me because I can tell you right now on this podcast, like if I didn't have the fun stories from my military experience, I just had my childhood experience, training experience, and then deployment, there's no way I would have not fallen into the category.
For sure.
Like I definitely would have been in those boots.
100%. And I feel that's where we have those outlets to be able to look back, like, bro, you remember that time we threw that motorcycle in the dumpster and it trapped Galvan's face and we only had to push it off of it? And then you're all laughing. You're like, bro, this fucking tore his face up. Those are those little outlets. But then when guys get out of the military, you don't have that outlet anymore. So then those memories start to fade, and then you're just trapped in your own just hamster wheel of the shitty moments. And obviously I want to dive into it because this is where I really am interested in this conversation, because us being in the charity world for the last over a decade, it's so hard. You have these guys just submit, everybody's got PTSD now. Everybody's got some TBI or some problems, and it's like, okay, cool. We're out here doing it. If we have all these programs, we have all these resources, there's hundreds of thousands of charities that for everything you can imagine. Why did this dude that is making millions of dollars a year, got a beautiful wife and kids, life is on a silver platform, just take his life? And it's like, make that make sense. And it's a super frustrating thing. And we immediately, I was in this stage for a while where you hear about a guy killing himself. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what a selfish thing to do. What a piece of shit. You're not ending the hurt. You're just passing the pain. You don't end the pain, you pass it, right? Which is, I still believe in that, especially with suicide. But then years of dealing with this and years into it, it's like, okay, this isn't a dude just quitting. This isn't a husband. This isn't a cop. This isn't a mom that just one day I'm gonna take my life. I truly believe, a disconnect. There's a chemical in our brains. There's something more than just, oh, they were struggling. Well, yes, they were struggling, but then you start looking at, why did this mom with postpartum just drown 3 of her kids? I hear these stories from my wife watching these movies. Nobody in their right state of mind is going to do that. She was right up to it. Something clearly is burned out, switched, disconnected in our mind. So that's why I want to dive into this. But before we do, let's touch on you getting your Purple Heart, the day you got hit, and then let's transition. Let's roll into what led up after the military, and then the hospital, and let's go into that. And then that way, because I want to start painting the picture on this, because this is such a terrifying topic, because we're losing so many damn people every single day. Not even just veterans, just suicide is just, it's a horrible thing, and the numbers are on the incline, unfortunately. So I want to dive into that. So walk me through the day that you ended up getting blown up and shot.
So let's qualify that. I was not penetrated. My gear worked correctly.
Okay.
So I caught a round, caught 3 rounds.
You caught 3 rounds?
I caught 1 in the back plate, 2 in the front striker, but my gear worked. So a couple broken bones. My ribs were fucked up, but mainly the biggest injury from that was bruised organs. So I bruised my left lung, bruised my stomach, and then bruised my spleen area. And
what did it feel like? Well, okay,
dude, so I felt like I got pushed. So I don't know how to explain it. We were in this area we always kind of laughed at as our relax area.
Okay.
So where we were at, the way the Haji Ramadan was kind of set up is you have these grape rows that kind of surrounded us. Then we had these giant dry houses that were like little castles. We dropped JDAMs in them, and the bomb would go off, and then they would still be standing. But that's where the Taliban would stack their RPGs, and they would prep their munitions onesie twosie for an attack on the compound. And so we would do these foot patrols where we kind of go on the outer skirts, hit all those, make sure there wasn't anything prepped. We'd hit the sides, and we had this one little area that the Taliban hate getting wet. They don't go through canals, right? So we were like, hey, we're going to walk through these canals. That's going to be a good idea. So we had our relax, rest kind of cool down area at the end of a mission. That's the route we were taking back. The problem is that we weren't taking it every day. We were taking it enough for it to become kind of this is where they get sloppy. And in that sloppy area, we were going towards it in this grape row, and they prepped it perfect. It's kind of in a blind spot. They put a pressure plate in. And as we were going into that grape row, kind of got hit with this almost perfect setup of the way grape roads are set up, kind of like kill funnels. They're just straight. You have a platform, it drops down, and then a big wall where the grapes grow up, and then it continues. It's if you look at an old timey washboard in a barrel, that's a grape row. It's just ridges, and we'd walk down them kind of straight, and then sometimes we'd hop the wall and then take another one. We try to be unpredictable. But they realize they get really sloppy, and they take this row.
Damn, so they've been watching.
So we were walking through that, and I felt like I got kind of pushed, and I turned around to laugh. And then I just couldn't breathe for a second. And then I remember kind of turning and falling a little bit, kind of coming up. And then I remember more moving forward and hitting a pressure plate. Like I remember the 2 Coke cans, that clack, that like metallic noise. And then I don't really remember much after that. I've talked to a couple guys, I guess I was throwing up immediately, like could not stop throwing up. Got on the bird. And what happened with the swelling from that is my brain swelled and then it was kind of coming down. And so I flew low altitude from roll 3 to Germany. And then I had to spend 2 weeks in Germany just for them to be like, are we cutting his head open or not? Like, what's going on with the swelling? Where's he at?
Oh, shit.
Then flew back to the U.S. And then I spent 2 years in a WTB. The first 9 months of that was in the hospital
What's a WTB?
room. Warrior Transition Battalion.
Okay.
So it's where like you have a bunch of guys wounded in combat go, and then you have like the Army started using it like a get rid of their shit bags. So you have like guys that were like mental health.
Yeah.
That were just guys that were not getting along with their unit, or there were guys there that were mental health, suicidal, but they just started packing these units full of everything from the National Guard, reservists, active duty in the regions. That's where their guys would go. So like in our WTB, the guys in the hospital, we were all combat fucked up. And we did, the first 9 months were brutal. My first 3 months, I would say 60 days in the WTB, I had like this contraption. I'm sure Nate will send a photo. We can put it on screen or whatever. But I had my eyes covered and like these ice packs on my head, trying to keep my pressure down because they realized cutting skulls open were giving guys more injuries.
Really?
So like that stress relief surgery of like cracking the skull, it gave it too much expansion. And so like that's where guys were having like really hard times with movement, mobility, writing, like just I got really lucky at the phase of Army medicine when they were realizing that gave my brain enough time to come down on its own. And granted, if it was worse, they would have cut me open, but I was like, rode a line, really lucky in life to be able to ride that line of injury. But I had Dr. Davis, and Dr. Davis out of Topeka, Kansas. He's a neurologist. And, he's the reason I really got interested in trying to find a physical injury to the brain for PTSD is because he would explain my brain injury to me and the emotions with it better than anybody at the time that I ever met. I'd go see a shrink in my Army shrink appointments. Like half the time they would forget your name and they're looking at their notes. And then the other half, they're like not even looking at you. They're typing on a computer and they go, here are your prescriptions.
Yep.
And so like going through the WTB, I got exposed to thousands of veterans in the 2.5 years I was there, guys that were getting out of the military due to medical issues or, mental, psychological issues. And so when I finally got out, medically retired in 2013, I got out and I couldn't find a job anywhere. So I did what everybody does. I got on with contracting. I joined an organization called ICAP. And during that year, going after, I had my 20th suicide. And I got the notification. And up until then,
of guys you knew?
Guys I knew from
20
WTB.
dudes?
20 dudes. So yeah, I think out of a couple thousand people, it's a small population, but it's still, Jesus.
That's a lot.
The numbers are still outrageous from WTBs. Like I don't know what the current stats are per WTB, but when we were leaving, like we were having a suicide a month at Riley. You can look this up. The Joint Chief of the DOD of, I think it was Lloyd Austin at the time, came to Fort Riley to meet with our unit and a couple other units. So like, why are your suicide rates so high here? Like, is it a command issue? Is it? No. Like, it was just like, I remember 2011, I think it was 2012. 2012, I think we had a body collection every like 4 weeks out of the barracks. Like it became so routine that like no one even acknowledged it after a point. The mindset back then was like, these guys quit on us. Fuck
these
that.
guys are all killing themselves in the military.
On base. And then even worse when they left. The Army doesn't track deaths after service. When you're out, you get your paperwork, you have your Deeds 14.
They don't care at that point.
They don't give a shit.
No.
Now, if you haven't signed up with the VA yet, no one tracks that. So like when our VA numbers, and we're talking about like this 22 a day number, there's a report out there that says it could be up to 49. Yeah, remember, not all 50 states report their suicide numbers of veteran population. Like 26 states report.
And also, I think that 22 was taken off of Vietnam vets at one point. That's where the original...
it was like the veteran, it's their veteran population, which the VFW, right? Veteran Foreign War was started by Vietnam guys and World War II guys. that was their population, what they lobbied for. Those are the numbers they were tracking.
Yeah, because everybody's like 22 a day, which I mean, that's even hard to believe. But yeah, I want
The number's much higher.
Oh, I would
damn near double. And then we took out in 2016, we took out risk behavior deaths. So overdoses from addiction, and then like risk behavior death, like driving your car 120 miles into a tree. That's not suicide anymore.
150 miles an hour.
That's not even counted under suicide anymore. So if you think of it, just addiction, overdose deaths, and risk behavior deaths, the number is it's an epidemic. And I told the Commandant of the Marine Corps this, like, that's why we're working with them. Like, I'm not shy about telling leadership they're failing. And I'm not shy about telling these contractors that have been here for 30 plus years, spent billions of dollars, and have done nothing for our community, they're wrong. Obviously, I get angry because if I was that incompetent in my job, I would have been in Leavenworth.
Bro,
if I was incompetent as a squad leader and I got dudes killed because of incompetency, I'd go to jail. But
here, our government, since it's for us, that
program a record. Mm-hmm. And it's acceptable losses, I guess. That's our tolerance.
Well, the last 30 years of data shows us that we've actually have more deaths on our hands. We'll just keep doing what we're doing.
2019, we surpassed combat deaths in Iraq and Afghanistan combined to suicides.
In 2019?
2019, it's 2026. The number's only gone up. There's an Instagram page. I can't remember. It's like something graphs. And they have this line graph of like deaths, Iraq, Afghanistan go up, and then they have suicides that rides with it. And then combat stops and suicide keeps going. And then the graph gets so big you can't even see the war numbers anymore. And it's just, when it's painted visually for you, it's just like, what are we gonna do? But I got really upset with the last notification because it was a guy that went out of his way to check on me all the time. Like, all the time. Happiest dude I knew. We're great. Everything's good. And his suicide, I wouldn't say crippled me, but it broke something to me that I got angry. Like, whatever they're doing in the medical sphere is not working, and there's no more fucking excuses. Mm-hmm. If they're not going to fix it, I'm going to go fix it. I'm going to figure it out. And I started with the You Are Not Alone mission. I'm sure some people remember that Facebook group. We were just a group of dudes trying to help at the time. If you remember 2013, 2014, if you went to the VA, asked for help, went to a therapist appointment, and then didn't go back, they would take your benefits. They would say you're refusing treatment, and they stopped your paychecks. Mm-hmm. So we started losing guys to that. Well, then guys heard about it, and they're like, I'm not going to go tell them I need help. So they refused to go even talk to somebody. Yep. So we're like, let's just start a Facebook group where guys can message us. We can talk through it stuff. If they're really bad, we'll get them to like a suicide helpline. But like, let's just have a resource. If maybe we can catch one or two. One or two turned into like a 20 to 22 hour a day job for me on Instagram Messenger. It got so big so quick. We were kind of underwater, didn't know what to do. And we ended up handing it over to a nonprofit organization that partnered with the state of Utah, and their suicide hotline kind of took over. But it made me think like there's something else here. Like everybody I'm talking to, like the symptoms they're giving me, like I didn't meet anybody that was suicidal. Was at the same time also saying, oh, yeah, I get headaches sometimes. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like there's gotta be something in the brain. There's so much about electrical systems. That's where I started. Like, let's study the electrical part of the brain. It's already looked at. And then I was like, But through that, I found Dr. Alina Fong's paper on the NC300 of blood flow. Okay. And it was for traumatic brain injury. As a traumatic brain injury, I won't say survivor is a weird term for it, but a recovered traumatic brain injury patient, it was really interesting to me, and there was a lot of overlap. But I started seeing these symptoms were overlapped in just my PTSD field of like guys that we were seeing in that Facebook group. Everything else, I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot of overlap gap here. And we were starting a drug rehab nonprofit at the time for my ex-business partner's son, because he failed his third one. He's like, dude, take my son in the mountains and give him a boot camp or beat the hell out of him. Like, fix him. And I was like, that's not legal. So it was like kind of perfect time and place. And this is, God works in mysterious ways. Like we had this opportunity to get a patient population. And then we met this doctor, this group, and they, I sent off an email and they were willing to sit down with us and hear our theories. 30 minutes turned like 8 hours of sessions. Now, okay, you guys have patient population. We'll do your brain scans for you to prove this out. And as we were doing the brain scans, we identified this physiological injury to PTSD that is the same injury to TBI. So what happens is we experience trauma. Our body has oxygen as a resource. Oxygen moves through our blood cells in our brain, which allows our glucose to burn off for neurosynapses to occur. Without oxygen, the function of thought in parts of our brain cannot occur. We have your limbic system, which is our emotional processing area, and we have our cognition, our prefrontal, which is all of our executive decision making. What we found is that when you've experienced trauma, your limbic system steals more of those oxygen resources because it's staying in fight or flight. When the triggering event's over and the resources kind of go back out of balance, it's now imbalanced. The limbic system keeps some of it. The more trauma you're exposed to, or the greater the traumatic one experience was, the greater that imbalance is at baseline. What happens is when you get triggered again, baseline should be here and there's a gradual, now you're imbalanced, it bottoms out.
Yeah.
So we started realizing like guys that were committing suicide in the moment, that triggered event, divergent thinking lives in the prefrontal. Now, this is our theory, right? And we have a lot of data that supports a theory, but it's still considered quote unquote a theory. The jury's not out on it yet. Divergent thinking is our ability to go, if I make this decision, how does it affect my wife? How does it affect my kids? How does it affect my employer? Everything around us. Every time you talk to somebody that was suicidal and they talk about their moment of like, I was contemplating it, I was thinking about my kids and my wife, that's divergent thinking.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that old school mentality back in World War II, and they were looking at the planes that were coming back that were shot up. And they're like, okay, well, let's reinforce all the areas that aren't hit. Because obviously the planes coming back are the ones that were hit here, not here. Let's reinforce those areas. I took that same mentality that I learned when I was a scout about World War II, logic and reasoning deduction to the brain of like, okay, you survived through suicide because you were thinking about all that stuff. My buddies that killed themselves probably weren't. Why weren't they? Well, we look at the blood flow, we can see it is physically impossible for them to have been able to do it with the imbalance. So it's a physical injury. So we explain like mental health to the date, you have a broken leg, and you go into the clinic, say, I need help. If you can get to the clinic, most guys don't even walk to the clinic because their leg's broken. You get there and you get in the room and they go, pick a treadmill. What color treadmill do you want to get on? Talk therapy is this color. Ayahuasca is this color. Psilocybin's this color. EMDR is this color. But no matter what, you're getting on a treadmill with a broken leg. Well, the broken leg in this analogy, in our expression is the blood flow, the injury to the blood. We do at Narova, what our silver bullet is fixing the leg. We get the blood flow balanced again globally, not just these two centers, but a full global balance of those resources. So that way the body can get to, when you're going for resolution of trauma, you still need to go see a therapist. You still need to go pick a modality. Now you can pick a modality you resonate with, and you have the faculties cognitively to use it.
So now you guys, how did you put these pieces together? What process is it that you guys were, okay, we need to fix the broken leg, the disconnect in the brain with the oxygen?
So yeah, I had a drug rehab and we were treating mental health and drug addiction, which drug addiction is the hardest thing to treat because it's not one thing, right? You have so many factors into an addiction. You have identities, part of addiction. You have the chemical demand and signals of the body. But then you have things that are innocuous as relationships, environment, and household situations. You come to a rehab, you're safe there, you can get clean there, but you go home and you're back in your shitty basement apartment and with your shitty job and with maybe a horrible relationship or bad group of friends. Like, very easy to slide back in and then you go back to a rehab and it's comfortable and safe. And I think that's a lot of the model is like, you feel safe here, keep coming here until you run out of money, then we kick you to the street.
Yep.
We were looking at that and I kept like the question was like, everybody comes here and they know I shouldn't be doing this. Like, do you look at AA? AA is created during Prohibition. We were lobotomizing people then.
Yeah.
We don't lobotomize people anymore, but we keep AA.
Yeah.
Right. It's a fear-based, guilt-based system that's wrapped in a package of religion, right? Or it's wrapped in a package of fear of once an addict, always an addict. That's why guys go for their 40-year chip, right? Like, you haven't had alcohol for 40 years, but you went back 40 years to get your chip. You're no longer an addict. But in their mind, that fear of like, I'm going to break, it's a fear response. And in my mind, I thought we're never going to see at scale results if that was the model.
Okay.
And so we started doing these brain scans, started realizing like, oh my God, like this overlap of this injury mechanism is in everybody. What happens if we now change our program and implement a brain phase, 2-3 weeks of modalities that are physical? So to change blood flow in the brain, you have to put the body under stress, doing a complex task for a certain amount of time. We're like, what do we design this protocol to put the body under stress doing these tasks? We find the time limit to put these guys under to have the effect of the brain. And we healed this part of the brain. And then what happens with their cognition and their willpower? And, are they still addicts? And what we found is, the moment we fixed the brain in every single one of our patients at that rehab, the addiction stopped.
No shit.
And so it was going really well, but it was very expensive.
I was gonna say, why
It
hasn't?
was so expensive. And so I got really tired of like telling people they couldn't afford the program.
Okay.
And then, trying to compete with other rehabs that cognitive therapy, addiction therapy didn't exist until I coined the term in 2015, 2016. It didn't exist. No one was labeling their rehab as, oh, we have cognitive therapies for addiction. We were the first ones talking about it. And
No
then
shit.
within 3 months, everybody was using it. Like we had like one talk at the Brain Health Alliance conference and we talked about our data. And I swear to God, every marketer in the world was like, ooh, now we're Malibu brain health. Like everybody started using it. And the problem is without this correct pattern of the pressure for the brain, the task for the brain, the time, you're not healing the brain. You can actually damage it.
Oh, I can imagine.
So like there's a lot of places out there that are just making things worse, and
well, especially if they're just trying to jump on the trend or
a marketing trend.
This,
That's what a lot of rehab
these key
is.
words and okay, it's cognitive now. It's all about the brain. If we fix the brain, the rest everything falls into place. But are they actually fixing the brain, or are they just continuing to do what they've been doing that doesn't fix anybody, but now they've slapped a cool marketing term onto the front of it?
And that's what I saw. But I had this moment where I went home and I was like super depressed. I wasn't happy that we weren't making, I wanted to make this giant impact and it wasn't going to happen. And my wife goes, why don't you just make it a video game? Because on the weekends, I'd get back to the guys I went to Afghanistan with, or I was in the army with. We would drink and we'd play video games together. And that was our release. She's like, just do something like that. And I was like, I can't do something like that. Like, the body's not under pressure on a computer. She's like, do the VR thing that you just got. And I was like, oh, that might work. Because we were using a technology called SyncThink in our rehab. It was all about just eye tracking. The technology is created by Dr. Gajardia with the DOD to do rapid diagnosis of TBI in theater. So the idea is you get blown up, right? They can put this VR headset on you with 40 cameras and you would do smooth pursuit. So you'd look in a circle and follow with your eyes, and then you do staccato relief, back and forth, left and right. And that was enough data through your eyes to tell the doc if you had a TBI and need to be medevac.
Okay.
It's like rapid diagnosis, rapid extraction. We picked that technology up because we want to use it in rehab. Like how could we use this to pre-qualify individuals for the cognitive track? So we were already using that, and she was like, "Why don't you just use that thing?" I was like, "Damn, that's a good idea." I don't know, like they're already doing like eye tracking stuff. Like that's not going to do it because it's just a diagnostic tool. So I started thinking through it and really came to the conclusion like, we can make a game, an environment that does everything we're doing from a pressure standpoint. Because it's VR, you got to move your body, and then I can create like tasks in there. And that task tool is kind of where we started the progression of, how would this be built out? What task in which order for how much time of pressure would give me an outcome on the blood flow. And so I spent about 9 months trying to build a protocol with games that already existed, features that are already in VR, but in like a very specific time control of the stopwatch. You're
How
doing
are you
this.
figuring this out?
God, I don't know.
At this point, what education do you have?
At this point, I got my PhD in 2019.
Okay.
Working in clinic.
Okay.
So I had a very good, solid, base foundation to base my educated guesses off of.
Okay.
Because I've already been treating people, already doing brain scans. We already have success. Now I'm trying to put it in a new medium. So I already knew it worked in a clinic. Now I need to figure out what can I take from my knowledge of what works in a clinic. How could I apply it to the virtual environment? So I created like this archaic, I think at the time it was like 3.5 hour a day for 5 days. I think is what we did for Brian with a nonprofit. And we went out, we were able to get money from Meta to pay for our first brain scans in VR as this nonprofit. And it was probably the hardest study I've ever done in my life because it was just me and then the Air Force veteran in this like Airbnb. And
no shit.
I'm trying to keep this guy engaged for hours in VR, where in the natural VR inclination for the brain, you hit cog load around an hour. And I was trying to go way past that. So I'm like, I got to put the body under all this stress. And So we did it. We got done and we did the exit brain scan. And I got a call from Alina. She goes, "What did you do? What are you talking about?" She is one of the best brain scans we've ever done. Our before and after, which we have online, we will have online. The before and after were better results than I ever got in clinic, ever.
No shit.
I was like, holy shit, there's something here.
This is your first time doing
Very
this?
first out of the gate, shooting in the dark. It was a resounding success. And I was like, well, damn. And Brian was just on our Instagram a couple days ago talking. He shared one of my things. Like, these guys saved my life. I have the brain scans to prove it. Like, changed this guy's life. And I was like, okay, there's something here.
Mm-hmm.
And we left that study. The nonprofit kind of fell apart. Just I don't know, differing opinions on what vectors to take. And I think a lot of people kind of hit a roadblock and they stop. I was like, nah, I'm going to put my head down and work. And within 6 months, I built the team that we have now, our founding team of Craig Cooper and Johnny Zeski, my two co-founders. And they brought in Dr. Marco Grifa, who's a NASA doc. So he flew, he's a lead PI on Project Casper on the International Space Station. His background for the space station is heart rate variability and cardio coupling. And so he brought a lot of the cardio part to our idea. And it was like lightning in a bottle. We hit the ground running. Like, okay,
shit.
we have all of my foundational knowledge, and then we have everything Mark brings to the mix. Like, damn, we're making spice bread now. Like, it's not just plain white. Like, let's start going. And then my wife was working with our CTO, Shane, and she was just asking, who do you know in the engineering world for video games that looking for a job? And he goes, me. I'm looking for a new job. And so we got a world-class engineer to come on as our CTO, and he brought in a world-class team of our game designer. Jello's amazing. And all of our gaming engineers, I won't call them gaming, our VR engineers, from art to actual development, just world-class dudes that just joined the mission because they saw impact in every step we've hit, from our MVP to our Ukraine launch to our firefighters, military pilots, civilian pilots we're now conducting with the YMCA. Every single time, people's lives are completely changing, and they're changing as simple as a video game. It's a neuro-immersive environment. Let's call it what it is. You play a video game for 35 minutes a day for 4 days, and you have better neurological outcome than you were getting in my clinic, which would take you 2 weeks, $63,000 inpatient away from your life. And you're doing it in a delivery mechanism that you can take anywhere. We're on vacation right now with our spouses, and we're here doing this podcast, and I have 2 of these headsets in the RV. Like, it's so simple. It sounds like it's too good to be true, but people lie, data doesn't. And the data is just out of this world right now. We're killing it.
No shit.
Wild, huh?
This is fascinating. But okay, so I guess my first big question would be, what's stopping the VA and the government? What's stopping this from becoming the next? Why? Okay, not what's stopping it. Why is this just so new? It hasn't.
So there's a handful of VR not even therapies, VR engagements that the VA are working with for like stress reduction, stress management, the PTSD symptoms. The problem is really in the FDA. So we talk about TBI, PTSD, drug addiction, all these classified diagnostic terms. What we do at Neurova is we're treating symptoms of these, right? Like, I'm not saying I cure PTSD, I cure TBI. What I'm saying is like sleep improvement, cognitive focus, overall well-being, overall mental wellness.
Yeah.
The wellness of the individual is what we're focusing on, because we've built an environment that has an outcome on physiological data. So we look at RNA, so full body inflammation biomarkers through the blood. And then we've built our environments mirroring them with FNCI data. So looking at blood flow, movement, engagement in the brain.
And you're actually able to put somebody on this for, you said 30 minutes a day for 4 days.
Yeah.
You run them their pre-scans of their brain, body.
We don't do brain scans every week because they're so expensive, but we do blood in these studies on everybody.
Blood and oxygen. That's what you're really focusing on. And then they go through their course, and you're able to actually pull their pre and post blood.
So either they have brain scans and blood, or they just have blood, and we're able to show them. And then for the most people, this is a wellness device. So outside of a study, you just use it. Like, I have UFC fighters are using it in fight camps for performance as well as like mental wellness. We have firefighters in it. We have right now in Ukraine, there's 4 headsets on the front lines, keeping soldiers from medevacing out due to mental health. And then there are 2 headsets in Mercy Health Clinic right now, keeping their PTSD program where it's 6 months down to 3 months. Guys are graduating in, and they're using a headset once a week for those 3 months, not in a full protocol like we have.
Holy
They go into their appointment, they use the headset, they see their therapist, and the next week they do it. It used to take 6 months for them to quote unquote graduate. They're graduating in 3 months.
If and this all comes down to the FDA.
So
Because why? Okay,
here's the VA has 164 million dollars for VR prosthetics. So our Congress has passed a budget for VR to get paid for. The problem is there's not a VR company in the world right now that's got a de novo or an FDA clearance that shows data, right? Because we're the only data-driven VR that the VA has even acknowledged that we got approved to sell into the VA. So I can sell into the VA right now. Problem is I don't have the FDA code, the billing code available for them to pay me with their available money. So like if someone in the VA is like, I love this idea, I got $60,000 discretional funds, they can come buy some headsets, but it's only going to impact their little tiny circuit. And every VA is like its own little kingdom, right? So like the Utah VA, they handle just the Utah VA. They work with the Utah state. They kind of take direction from national, but like they handle their hospital. It's their own thing. Same thing in Idaho, and like every state's its own little kingdom. And I think the biggest problem with VA adoption, even if they gave me, let's say they gave me $1 billion, VA is like, here's $1 billion. The problem is our generation's not going to VA.
No.
The guys that need this are not going to VA. They don't trust the VA. The VA trust has been broken. Like I can't tell you last time I went to the VA. Like it's not there. And so if we want to make impact, we're taking the approach of community partners and then making it so affordable commercially. You can buy this on your own, like $3,000 system. We're not talking about, $40,000, $50,000 or the $60,000 my old clinic used to be for 2 weeks. We're talking about one system, full use for your family of 5 or whatever it is, $3,000.
So you're saying that you could have a whole entire law enforcement department pick this up, and the dude goes through, let's say he goes through an officer-involved shooting.
Yeah.
Pretty traumatic, domestic, paint the picture.
I'll give you a
right?
real-world example.
Yeah,
Las Vegas Fire. Las Vegas Fire did a pilot. So they picked up 3 headsets and with our commercial model. So that's an enterprise model. It has nothing to do with like if you went to our website, bought a headset as an individual. But the department got a couple headsets. They sent captains through because they thought it was all bullshit. So they're like, let's send senior guys so we can sniff through it. One of those firefighters went on record with the Military Times when they did their article on us and discussed how this made an impact on him. So I'll talk about him specifically because he's already gone on record talking about it. Our week's protocol gave him the best sleep he's had in 20 years. Didn't kick the blankets off, didn't wake up and sweat, was able to sleep through the whole night. Went on shift and he felt like complete weight off his shoulders. The problem is that his job, so like a law enforcement officer, firefighter, you're inundated with trauma and stress.
Yep.
So after about a week and a half, he started slipping. He realized he was slipping, so he went back to the headset at the Union Hall. And boom, right back to sleep being great, stress being good. His fuse got longer. He wasn't irritable and snapping at his family. His life just immensely got better. So when we talk about wellness, like it's real cool. I got a diagnostic code from the FDA that says we cure PTSD. What the hell does that mean? PTSD in any form looks different per person. I'm more interested of like, how do I help you interact with your kids, with your spouse, improve your sleep, improve your overall well-being of life? That's what if I can't make those impacts, but it's like, oh, look at what the blood did. By definition of this, we're curing this. And that doesn't matter. Because if the outcomes of that don't apply to your day-to-day life, they're bullshit. At the end of the day, I wanted something that saved my friends. Where thankfully now, 5 years ago, the goal was to create a product that if somebody called me with a gun in their mouth, I could send them something and we could save their life. We were able to do that for the first time ever this February. I got a phone call from a buddy of mine from Delta, and I got a gun in my mouth. Life's not worth living. We had a headset to him in 4 hours. He called me 3 days later, pissed at himself for being there. He's like, I feel like I'm awake.
Okay. All right.
Saved his life. And I'm sure I'll message him, and I'm sure he'll share this podcast and give his story, but I don't want to say his name until we get his permission.
Oh, cool with that. What are they watching in here? What okay, I immerse myself in here. I'm struggling. Been through some shit, no matter what it is, military, law enforcement.
We're gonna give you footage. Can we do footage? We're gonna give you B-roll. So we'll put everybody watching on screen right now. You're gonna start seeing the environment. So what you're seeing on environment, this is the MVP. What we're building that comes out in May will be a longer version of this. Right now you're playing around. So what happens is we got to get the body going first. So up till now we have a cardio engagement. Our new cardio engagement's boxing. So you have drones come at you in the back of a gun truck and you're punching drones.
Okay.
As you're punching drones, we have a whole circuit of this for a certain amount of time to get the cardiovascular system pumped and primed. Then we go into our cognitive task, which we use shooting for. We use shooting for 3 really good reasons. First reason is when we first built this environment, I wanted it familiar to soldiers. Shooting still silhouettes. Everybody, I don't care if you're a cook, a mechanic, an infantryman, whatever, go through basic training and you shoot silhouettes, you're familiar with it. It's something familiar to you. Now,
you're talking silhouette targets for
silhouette targets. So it's not people. It's not, they're not digital people.
Target.
You're shooting steel. So as you shoot it, you hear steel, it drops, or there are circular gongs. You shoot it, it moves. Now, that's one of the 3. The second big one is the #1 reported video game. So 70% of veterans at the VA that do go to the VA that took the survey reported they play video games for stress relief. Of that 70%, 80% reported it was Call of Duty.
I was going to say Call of Duty.
So like we're already like when we were talking to Cleveland in the UK, their police department, they were really adverse because of the guns. They're like, oh, and I'm like, you know what the #1 video game in your country is? They're like, well, I'm like Call of Duty and it's all guns. And there's blood. They're shooting bodies. And you have kids as young as 8 playing that in your country and adults. We're talking about just giving something that's already video game-like. It's disconnected. It's not a digital twin. It's not real life. There's a disconnect of belief and reality that you're playing a video game and we're using a thing that they're already playing. So there's the familiarity of entertainment. And the third one is from a cognitive task load side, using a rifle is awesome because not only do I have to do bilateral engagement for the brain when I'm holding a rifle because it's left and right. And when VR, we're able to push the hands a little more exaggerated.
Okay.
So I have cross body. How many processes is there involved with loading a weapon, racking around, aiming, and shooting?
And these guys
think just cognitive tasks. We're able to
sure.
massively load those cognitive tasks to an individual, to a player, that they're just playing a video game where, in my mind, you're doing resource management with magazines. It's my stock, it's my aiming, it's my breath control, it's my trigger pull. There's so many micro cognitive tasks that are involved with a weapon system that I would not get if we created a recreational sports game, like a football game or a hockey game. Like it does not transmute because just that one system gives me so many functions of cognitive task load that you have to manage. And then you have to manage your environment of shooting and where my target acquisition is. Like it's such a good blend of therapeutic aspects and task load mixed with entertainment. And that's what we wanted. We didn't want it to feel like a medical video game.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're watching, like you're grabbing a gun. If you've ever shot an AR-15, you grab the pistol grip, you load the magazine, you rack around, you can press check and look for the round in the chamber. The round comes out. Like it's awesome. And it's finite resources. When you're out, magazine runs out of ammo, 30 rounds. There's no toggle. It tells you how much ammo you have. You count in your head. You got to strip that magazine out, put a new one in. You drop your magazine, it's gone forever. So there's a stress component and inoculation of like resource management to get through the environment.
And this is helping.
Oh, dude, it's crushing it.
This is insane to me. Okay, so I guess one of my first questions off of that, since these guys are all war-hardened vets, they're not having a problem, or some of them have any issues with the gun. Because the only reason I ask this is because I've had guys in the past with our charity that had nothing to do with firearms, which completely respect. Are you running into any of that, or is everybody pretty much on board?
So we've had close to just over 500 people so far go through the environment.
Okay.
So from a population standpoint, not thousands, right? But
yeah,
500 is a very healthy number.
I would say, yeah.
My biggest population I was fearful of with the gun environment was Ukraine. So when I went to Ukraine, the first individual, they really tried to set me up for failure. They introduced me to a spec ops operator that went nonverbal. His family was, murdered in Bucha, and he went into the special operations, and his whole goal was to kill Russians. And then he was doing that nonstop until I met him, and then he went nonverbal, and they medevaced him out. So he would not talk, didn't make noises. and refused anything firearms. He's like, I'm not touching it again. So I have him in a room and we're all kind of sitting there and a couple of people are filming. I have this on film and I'm like, hey, let's put it on your head. I'm like, do you know how to shoot a gun, right? And he kind of looked at me like I was retarded. Like, and he points to his arm. He's got like this AK tattoo. And at the time I didn't realize like all the lines below, he was like hand tattooing himself every time he took a Russian's life, like crazy hardened dude. And he puts the headset on and the first bunker is like your tutorial bunker. It's a pass or fail. Either you can grab the weapon, load it, rack around and shoot the targets, or you can't move forward in the environment. It's kind of like our safety mechanism of like, if this is too overwhelming, you can't even get through this. So he's in there and on film, he's had the headset on for 15 seconds and he starts giggling because he's just playing with the rifle. Because there's such a disbelief, it's not a digital twin. It's like a guy playing Call of Duty. You would think Call of Duty for guys with PTSD, they wouldn't be able to do Call of Duty because all the guns and stuff.
Yeah.
You run to it because there's a sense of familiarity and there's a disconnect of we know this is a video game and it's cartoony. Like that's why Call of Duty is more successful than Battlefield, in my opinion, because there's enough disbelief of like, oh, that's Nicki Minaj or a Ninja Turtle character I'm shooting at. Like it's still fun. You're used to it. There's a grounding of familiarity, but it's not real. The same thing happens in our environment. This guy within a couple seconds is laughing. Then he starts shooting. He's giggling. And then he started talking to me. So the translator's like, he's talking to me about everything of like, you know, his wife, all that stuff. And then he gets the headset off. He's covered in sweat. And he's like, oh. And then he went back. Well, you know, Dr. Katerina messaged me on WhatsApp like 2 months later. She goes, he's back on the front line. Boom. Blood flow came back. And he's like, I'm going back to work from this.
All from this.
All from this. Damn, so I said,
dude, good for you.
Hey man, I listened to a
for you
path I was given and that's it. Door open. I walk through it. This is not a me thing. Definitely by far not. It's so simple. There's no way.
Do you ever look back in life and look at your childhood of being some just hoodlum kid selling drugs and now you are on the front line of helping cure PTSD and
every day?
Good.
So like
good.
My mornings I wake up and I've been reading through the Bible again. I think about it a lot of like the amount of things that had to have happened in their exact
no coincidence.
The exact way it did.
Mm-hmm.
I go left or right at any one of those micro moments. I don't end up here like there. You can't argue it. There are no coincidences. Like you're on a path.
Look at you right now.
Ordained. Like that's, in my opinion,
how incredible, bro.
Yeah, man.
I'm so glad you see it because it's just, there's no other way to explain it. There's no way all the coincidences and everything that have got you to doing this, to where you're going to Ukraine and helping dudes get back, which I mean, it sounds cool, but in the reality, like if you're that just destroyed, the last place we should be doing is sending people back to the
country's under attack.
Yeah, which is different there. I get that 100%.
Love or support or not that war. I don't have a dog in the fight because I'm not Ukrainian, but I've made some very good relationships with people there that I care about.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm sure, if I met other people, I would. I look at people as who they are and how they act, not what tribe they belong to or flags on their shoulder. And I'm very blessed, I think is the right way to say it, of like, not only did all the things in my life have to go right exactly the way they did, but everything in John's life, everything in Coop's life, everything in Mark's life, everything in Shane's life, everything in my wife's life, like everything in Nate's, like everybody in our team, anybody goes left at one point in time in their life, they're not here in this moment doing this exact thing that are saving lives. Like truly saving people that are on the edge of suicide and they're coming back. Like, by the time this episode comes out, our website will have the testimonials on there. Go to our website and look at some of these testimonials. Like, don't take my word for it. Go to the website, look at data that we've put on the website, look at the testimonials, like look at it. We say all the time, people lie, data doesn't. The data is there. And then you have the human story behind the data that makes the data make sense. Like I never in a million years would have believed we'd have the impact we have on teenage girls, on regular civilians, on the elderly. Like I thought this is a veteran product and it's become a human product because of what we said earlier.
For sure.
Trauma is trauma to the brain. Does not care if it's firefight trauma. It doesn't care if it's childhood trauma or medical trauma, or experience relationship trauma. Like you as a human being have a lived experience. That lived experience gives you a life. And part of that life is having trauma. I don't care if it's like a breakup is your biggest trauma. We all go through something,
For sure.
and the brain goes, oh, fight or flight, survival mode. And then it starts stealing resources because that's what we used to get through and get by to evolve, to survive to where we're at. The brain would go, oh, old age is 30s. We have a traumatic experience when we're 12 because we might be stabbing somebody with a spear, or somebody gets eaten by a cat. How do you survive that moment, to survive long enough to procreate, to make more humans, to then die?
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome when old age is 30 because it got us to where we're at. We're now living to be over 100. Now the system breaks.
Yep.
Now we're looking. Now we used to be dying. We have midlife crisis is what we've kind of coined it.
Yep.
Trying to find yourself, re-identify because you're searching for something. And then when you get older than that, everything breaks down. You watch people, the moment they retire and they stop moving, they stop being engaged, they fall apart.
Yep.
There is something to it. Like the remaining in motion, keeping your brain engaged, doing something with your body. Not only is it for like mental health, but just full physical body. We're looking at RNA for stress inflammation. Like we're looking at just a 4-day intervention, reducing and eliminating NOS2 in the brain.
What's NOS? To explain that.
NOS2. So you have all these chemical compounds, right? You have IL-8, IL-10, NOS2, TNF alpha, all these biomarkers in the RNA in the blood that are indications of stress, disease, cancer, performance. NOS2 is this horrible buildup in the brain that we talk about of PTSD, suicide ideation, drug addiction. So think of it as like a negative deviant. As it builds up, you perform worse. We're eliminating it with just a headset.
Okay, so I guess my next question is, why can't I just play Call of Duty on my giant ass TV, turn the lights down, and I'm in it with surround sound? What makes this so different to me just playing the regular video game? If you're
So we talked about it earlier, right? It's body under pressure, a cognitive task, and a certain amount of time.
Oh, is that what
all
three difference?
All three of those things have to work together.
Okay.
So if my timing is off, too much, too little, I don't get the engagement, or I get too much engagement, brain goes into cog load. The cognitive task isn't stimulating enough. And then the body under pressure isn't great enough. Like the UFC athletes, right? Their specimens.
Yeah.
Their body pressure is a lot higher than me, right? Like we're two different individuals. And so it has to be specific to the user. So we've created our environment, and our backend is this system is based off of your engagement. So you put the VR on and you're playing. It's not a database that we're pulling cookie cutters from. It's, hey, you're responding in this specific way. So X, and the outcome with the targets are Y, and the environment's Y. So we're going to change it. We're going to change your engagement opportunities with the environment to bring your X up. So the environment is tailoring itself to you live in it, and it's promoting the blood flow reintegration and the whole body integration while you're inside it. Whereas Call of Duty is built to make you emotionally invested. That round, it's like gambling. It's essentially a slot machine in a video game form. And then when you get out, they show you these awesome cosmetics, and the goal of the round robin is to entice you to purchase something from their store. The entire battle royale model, that round robin addiction, and why it's the same game, same map, but different engagements every single time, is to entice you to make a purchase. That is the only goal. That's a revenue model. It's really smart for them for money. It's not good for the human. It's not healthy.
That's fascinating to me that it's all three combined, and that this is constantly evaluating, updating, giving you what. Are you using AI for that technology?
Yes, we've built our own model, right, in these decision trees and language models of, if the user is doing X, what is the outcome? And then how do we promote more? And it's kind of like that safety mechanism of, I can put, and like we just did a study here in Utah with a commercial entity for their employees, and we had a stroke patient in here, and I was helping him move his right arm. And at the end of the week, his speech and pattern increased, his ability to actually move his arm, and his hands started opening and closing on the controller. Like the environment was picking up where he was at, and he was crushing it. Like insane results with the stroke patient. When we started this, I had no idea that we would even have an impact in that arena. The more populations get exposed to it, the more we're making impact in everything. And because we're taking such a foundational approach from looking at the blood flow, the autonomic nervous system, the RNA, and trying to just make impact on foundational mechanisms in the body. Well, foundation mechanisms have impact on everything above it. So why wouldn't we have an impact on these subgroups of people that I wasn't even thinking of before?
Oh, I'm sure you're going to be peeling layers back for
Yeah, it's a
for
super onion.
years.
I mean, Mark says it best. We are the Manhattan Project for the brain. What we're doing right now is going to be setting standards for patient care for years and years to come.
What does that feel like? Just saying that. What does that feel like knowing that
I'm so lucky I get to turn the lights on and turn them off. Like, I have built a company that's outgrown me a little bit. I'm really good at what I do as a CEO, but I'm so happy that now I have rock stars like Mark
for sure
that are like, this is what we are doing with the science because of my 30 plus years of experience. This is how we're going to attack it. And he's able to think outside of the box. His education coming up and working with NASA and special operations, field medicine and trauma surgery in an airplane, and then going and working with the city and working with the homeless population. Like, he has such a weird breadth of experience, and then just being Irish and being, charismatic. Like, the guy's a rock star. To have that life lived experience, to take it into what we're doing with medicine, without Mark doesn't work. Like, without that kind of brain,
Yep.
I got some like Harvard, this is exactly the rules we say in Alliance, it would never exist. But because of Mark, it exists. Because of Coop, because of John, what everybody brings to this team, the little bit of sprinkle of life experience has created something so unique that it is so much bigger than just Brenden anymore. That, like, I can point at everything in this has fingerprints from my team. That to me makes me feel, dude, like $1 million.
For sure.
Like, that's,
and that's
growing up without a family, like, being in the military, this is the closest I've ever been to that fire team feeling of like, I have my people now, my tribe that I'll die for, because this doesn't exist in its format. If it was just me in my garage, it was just me trying to figure it out. We never would have gotten to this point. And now we're at a state where it's like the Manhattan Project for Brain. Manhattan Project wasn't Albert Einstein. It was 2,600 people.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it was a tribe that made that thing work. And we're able to do it now with the brain because of the team we've built and the partnerships we're building with other entities. And, as of this morning, I don't know when this episode will come out, probably weeks from now. I don't know what your normal edit time is, but, YMCA Orange County made it public. We've been working with the YMCA. The YMCA is a partner. Like, I could not wish for a better launch partner than we have with the YMCA, because they believe in it. Their core tenets are mind, body, spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That's their mission impact for 2027. We are their mind gap. Orange County trusted us enough to do a pilot. That pilot went so damn well, they did a second one, and now we're moving into a 100-person deployment in Orange County over the summer. We'll be at their every 4-year trade show in September. So if you're going to the YMCA trade show, come see the booth. I'll meet you there in person.
Oh, good for you,
it is getting so big that, like, it doesn't feel, I feel like maybe I got blown up in 2011, and this has been my 7 minutes. They talk about that 7-minute window where the brain stays up and makes it. Yeah. Dude, it feels unbelievable to be in the seat I'm in with the teams that we now have around us. It's undescribable how blessed I feel.
Congratulations, dude.
Thanks, man.
I love it even more of the backstory. You're not some silver spoon kid, got daddy's money, and you're in here and, hey, my dad gave me this opportunity and helped me build a business. Like, you went from the streets to the military to defending your country to receiving a Purple Heart to this, which is now changing and saving lives. What's one of the side effects? And I ask as a dad.
Yeah.
Because when VR hit, I'm very anti-VR. We don't allow it. That's one thing. We're not a video game. Okay, so backstory. I'm a gamer. That was my previous life addiction.
Okay.
Every Call of Duty, 10th Prestige, everything maxed out. I had people trying to buy my accounts. I used to be one of those. Hardcore into it. And then one day I turned on my Xbox, I put my Call of Duty in, I was looking at my stats, and it had like 45 days of gameplay. And I was like, 45 days of gameplay? Like, what does that mean? And then I plugged in another one. It was like 37 days of gameplay, 52 days. And I started adding up how many days I sat on that couch in that seat playing that video game. And it floored me. And I turned it off. I unplugged it all, and I never picked it back up because I was in it. So as a dad, I'm older now, I'm like, no video games because she's not it. My youngest has my gene. She sees
Okay.
something and it just consumes her.
Yeah.
And so that's why
I'm gonna beat everything.
I allowed a Wii, right? Because you're still moving your body, you're
Yeah.
able to do all that, and it's old school. It's like the Nintendo. It's now with these games, they're like you were saying previous, they're built to pull you in, keep you there,
And not
just,
let you go.
right.
yeah.
And that's where I got until one day I had the epiphany. I was like, oh my God, I'm a loser. I've been sitting on my couch for months and months, half a year. I've sat here playing these video games.
Yeah.
What's the side effect of this? Because you're getting in, you get into this world. Are you seeing anything negative
Yeah,
from
so
this?
our side effect disclosure is the same as Meta's, the hardware, right?
Okay.
Dizziness, nausea.
Okay.
If you have epilepsy, there's the seizure potential, just like any
sure.
other environment in VR because the hardware. We build our environment to where when cog load hits, you're done. So what's really cool is like Call of Duty will build cog load. They have like these mechanisms where you might hit cog load and you see it with like the freakouts. Like you're maybe it's round 5 or whatever, and you die to a team and you start screaming. Like you lose your shit at the thing. Well, that emotional dump, that like, oh my God, freak out,
Yeah.
pushes cog load back. So
So it's like raising your suck level to
Oh,
how much you can
so
deal
what's
with?
crazy is like Call of Duty got caught. This is a couple of years ago. I don't know if they sell the mechanism, but with audio, so they're always listening to like open mics. So what was really funny is back, I think it's called the Warzone 2. If you were having like really bad rounds and you were in the main lobby with your friends, and you're like, you know what, I'm done. This is my last one. I'm, fuck this game. I'm quitting. It would put you into a lower skill level lobby, so you'd win. So you'd get this giant dopamine hit of like, I'm awesome. And it would keep you in the game for on average another hour.
Bro,
That mechanism is the same mechanism they use in the casinos.
Oh, for sure.
So like the psychology learned experience of these games, they know how to emotionally stimulate you to push your cognition load even further to get the most out of you. They want to squeeze you, drive your time because time in that game, the longer I spend in it, the higher outcome and likelihood I'm going to buy supporting, well, not only the next one, but supporting add-ons in it.
I need a new headset. I need
I need that character skin's awesome.
Oh, okay,
It's darker in these. I've died in this corner because that guy has a little bit darker of a skin.
This gun,
I'm buying that.
Whatever,
like
maybe.
It has nothing to do with performance, but the colors and it makes you buy new things. And because the more time in it, the more I want to collect those things.
Yep.
And that process, like the prestige, you were a prestige guy. What did prestige do for your outcome of gameplay? Nothing, but you wanted your emblem next to your name to be the best, right?
All the gold guns, everything.
Exactly.
100% I was that dude.
It's all psychology to keep you going past your normal, what your body would normally say, like, we're done. How do I get past that? Our environment is built specifically to stay under it because I just want your brain working. I want you physically tired. So you can play our game. And I tell parents, like, we'll have my kid plays it for 6 hours. My kids have the addiction of playing video games forever. My kids don't play this longer than just the process. And it's because I'm forcing them to play the whole thing. Like most of the time they're like halfway, they're like, all right, I'm going to move to the next. Like they're done because it's built to get your brain tired. You're going to hit a point where you're like, all right, I'm done.
No shit.
I've had enough. That's why we built it the way we built it. And it was built intentionally to keep that. My biggest fear is I didn't want to create a solution that created a bigger problem. I don't want to be the Percocet of mental health.
I'm glad that you say that because if you're helping here, but then creating an addiction or creating a different addiction or a dependency,
or just shuffling an addiction,
that's all.
I'm taking it from one thing to another.
Exactly.
It's not a healthy outcome.
That's kind of why I was asking, because nowadays the way the algorithms and we have all the psyche figured out and how to pull people in. So I was wondering if obviously you're fairly new in the world of medical science and discovery and everything now. I would say, you're just hitting the ground last couple of years. But yeah, that's where kind of my mind was going with that was, okay, if we're creating this, but you hear all the negatives, because as a dad, I do the VRs, and we know some families that they have their kids on VR, but they're on it for they get home from school till the middle of the night whenever the kid decides to go to sleep. And
it's not healthy. 300 doctors open-ebbed a pen to Meta about the dangers of VR for children, right? And this weird creating a world or like this disassociation. And a lot of it's really founded some good science. Like there's that experiment, you put a cover over your arm, put a wall up, and then put a fake arm. And if you tickle the arms and you hit the fake one, you're gonna feel it. There are kids out there right now claiming they have phantasmal pain in virtual environments. They can feel it. If an avatar touches them, they can kind of feel like their body's touched. How much of that is true? I don't know. Because I haven't done any of the studies. I haven't really looked into it. But you see these articles pop up as I'm in VR. I get pushed VR content all day.
For sure.
And there was a case that came up like this girl that, from a psychological standpoint got, put in a hospital because she was quote unquote raped in VR by an avatar to avatar.
Jeez.
But it was enough psychologically that put her in a hospital.
And people listening that aren't too familiar with VR, like I've seen where they pick people up on things and they're so convinced they're like standing on a roof edge,
freak out.
They'll dive off of stuff and land face first on the floor. Is this active?
No.
This isn't an active one?
No, you can play this.
Could I would like to see, because I've never put one on.
We'll play a game after we get off this, and then we can put it in the episode.
I would love to.
Let's do it. I want you to play it because there's the psychological effects. There's the heart rate horror games that they get scarier the higher your heart rate gets. There's a lot of entertainment in it, but they're built for entertainment.
And that's not what you're coming.
This is built specifically as a neuro immersive environment. Our only goal is to promote healthy neuro engagement. So our promotion is to rebalance resources in the brain for wellness. I want you to be better. I don't want you just to quote unquote feel better, but I want the RNA to show that. Like I want the interactions of your day-to-day life to be proof of it for you. Like
for sure.
I am a veteran who struggled immensely with having a very short fuse with my kids when they were really little.
Oh yeah.
And now they're teenagers. Like it should be still like that, but because of the technology created, like thank God. Like we decided it's spring break. We took our families with us on this work trip. So we're all in an RV with 3 kids under the age of 6. Kids under the age of 6, and then 2 kids over the age of 13. And it should be a horror show in an RV. I should be Robin Williams wanting to drive off a cliff. Yeah. And it has been awesome. Like it's been such a good road trip with our families that like, and I think a lot of that is just my ability to process my environment and handle my own stress is 10x because of this, because of my resources back where I used to just immediately shut down, yell, be the NCO in my home of,
for sure,
just the asshole. And now I can actually engage with my family, and I have the ability. Like, dude, I used to be. I look back and I'm so sad for when they were young, because like my daughters always just wanted to talk. When she was like 2, maybe 3, I missed those golden window of being able to have the conversations with my daughter. Right. Mm-hmm. Now she's 13. She wants to talk about all her stuff. I can sit there and have a conversation with her for an hour and a half to drive home from school without being like, no, stop. I gotta de-stim with something else. I can actually engage, and it's sad, but I'm so happy that I still have my window.
For sure.
Like the window never goes away, like until you're dead. But like now with this, I have a great opportunity in these formation. Like 13, I feel like for a dad with a daughter, this, that's like how do you lay down the law of what men are supposed to be? Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would have had this ability without the technology and what we've done with the brain for myself. I don't think I would have been able to do it. Like the dad I was 10 years ago is not the dad I am today.
So we talked a lot on vets. Obviously that's your, I don't want to say main niche, but
it's my lived experience.
Your lived experience. So obviously you're going to be drawn and pulled to that. Let's say there's a woman that's been sexually assaulted. She's gone through a traumatic experience. Are you putting her into the shooter version, or
yep.
Or are you building out different, what are I guess simulations?
So we have one simulation right now.
Okay.
That simulation that we'll play, you'll see the B-roll. It's the only one we have in existence. We are putting everybody through it.
And that's working for a woman.
We have Summer's testimonies online. It's on our website. You'll be able to go look at it.
Summer's who?
Summer is a 17-year-old. Now she's 18. Young woman from California who experienced sexual trauma. in her younger years and was a pre-Olympic hopeful with gymnastics, and her life imploded. It was so bad she had to wear glasses indoor because gave her TBI like symptoms with light sensitivity. She loves to read and write, took that away from her. She thought about suicide every day for 8 months. Mom had to sleep in bed with her so she didn't commit suicide. And they went through everything you could think of, from medicine, doctors, clinics, and they're kind of at the end of their road. They were told by a really well-renowned clinic that she was treatment resistant. Well, her mom ended up being in the network with our co-founder John, our chief experience officer, our CXO, and they reached out to John and said, we heard you're doing this thing with VR and it's helping people with PTSD. She just got diagnosed. Like, can we please try it? And he's like, well, here are the qualifiers, and here, like, we'll try it. Like, we're comfortable enough to at least try this because you guys have tried everything else. And I'll let her testimony on our website her testimonial speak for itself. But I'm so damn proud of the young woman she is, because I mean, she couldn't talk about it when I first met her, and now she was able to write out her testimonial and deliver it on camera and change her life. And now she's going to get her private pilot's license. She's not wearing sunglasses anymore.
Oh
She's
shit,
putting herself
dude.
together.
Good.
She's not
for you, bro.
suicidal. Like, within the first week of using her protocol, Mom stopped sleeping in bed with her.
Within a week.
Within a week.
And you're talking 30 minutes at a time, hour at a time.
I think she was at John's for like an hour a day. That included like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, for 1 week. And then
So you're
we
talking a
gave her
therapy
headset.
session.
Yeah, and then we gave her a headset to use. Like, a month later, she did another one for a week. She's only been in the headset for 2 weeks total in her
It made
life.
that much of a drastic difference.
I'm so damn proud of her. And I'm proud of, like, that's why I say when God's involved, right? Like, a lot of people get turned off when they hear that. I don't care.
Neither do I, bro. Preach it. Changed my life.
How do you take someone that's in that state? You turn their brain back on. That's literally what we're doing. We're turning the lights on, and then you see your outcomes. Like, there's got to be something more that we can't even quantify yet, from a connection piece with divinity, whatever you want to call it, the universe. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. In my opinion, it's God. Like, there's got to be something there, because without it, you don't take a 17-year-old suicide teenager whose only thought is of her trauma and of suicide taking her life, to, within just a couple months, a complete reversal in everything. Now she's thriving in life. Like, I don't know how I did that. I don't know how our team did that. I just know that it worked. A shooting environment for a soldier worked on a 17-year-old girl. Make sense. You would think
that's why I was asking,
like,
because
it doesn't make sense, but it works.
Which is fascinating. Are you guys developing? I mean, you don't have to get into it, obviously, if they're behind the scenes, but what would be some other scenarios, obviously, besides you, and correct me if I'm wrong, and just listening to you in this conversation, a lot of it is obviously the three things that you're adding together inside of it, but the cognitive movement of magazine, what else in life
so
is
that's
able
a
to,
skin, right? So
Okay.
think of the video game engagements as the skin.
okay.
The cognitive tasks and engagements are engine based. So the skin could be anything. I could make this work with our protocols in a Blue's Clues environment.
Okay.
I can make it work for the Lion King. Like, it does not matter what IP or video game engagement we use. We have enough of the modalities built up to where you can make it apply to anything. And our game engineering team, Jeff Robinson, Shane Smith, Tyler, I mean, our engineering team can make magic. I'm watching them make magic happen. Like, these guys are crushing it. So from a game aspect, it could be anything.
Okay.
So we can build targeted games. Our biggest thing we've run into is we are a scratch startup, right?
For sure.
We've only raised money 6 months ago, and we're raising money again right now with our other partner who saved my life with cancer, took me down to Mexico for treatment, Jed. That's the first real injection of money where I've been able to give these guys a big chunk of money. Outside of that, it's been me and my wife paying for the things we had to pay for, then everybody else not working here full time, and then taking, hits on their 401k so they can afford to be here and work on this. Or our engineer team working on weekends and nights after their other jobs. Like, everybody's here from the mission standpoint. I don't know any other founder that can say, hey, I had 11 people believe in me and not get paid for 2 years building a product. to make a company because the impact it's having. Like, again, God has been very generous with me in the opportunity that we have to build this company. And the video game aspect, that's in 5 years, it'll be a library. So maybe you don't want guns now. Wait a year and a half and we'll have a new game that doesn't have guns. But if you're in a crisis, you don't have a year and a half to wait.
Oh,
just get in it. Do it.
If you're at that point in your life? Yeah. I mean, if you're at the point of taking your own life, you're already at rock bottom. So what's...
Well, if you're at the point of taking your life, you're at the basement of rock bottom.
For sure.
Right? Every rock bottom's got a basement, and that's when you're suicidal, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you're actively killing yourself or thinking about it. And if you're already there, what's the worst that can happen?
Damn, dude. This is incredible.
Thanks, man.
Incredible. So what do you need as a company, since you're still, I mean, let's just put it out there. This is, I know this wasn't ever talked about, but this is just where this is wild chaos. I mean, if people are listening, and obviously this is changing lives, what do you guys need? As a startup company, you're a bunch of vets, you're piecing this together. You're not running.
So we don't need money now, right? Money's fixed. Thank you, Jed. Amazing investment partner who believed in me as an inventor and my story to jump in the deep end with us, not only with the company, but me personally. We have amazing community partners. So we have the YMCA, and we're doing amazing things with the YMCA. I think the biggest thing I need is people to share the story of, if you are hurt, if you're depressed, you have a loved one that has PTSD or depression or addiction, like we need to change the narrative that this is a willpower injury, that this is an illness. This is a physiological injury. We would never shame any of our friends or families if they had broken legs and couldn't walk upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world of shame and guilt for the loved ones around us and people we know that are struggling with mental health issues or anything else, because we can't really see it. Mm-hmm. They're struggling to get up their metaphoric stairs. We need to change the narrative and shift the narrative. Like, this is not just your fault. Like, this is an actual injury and we can fix it. You can get better. There is hope. There is outcome on the backside of this. That needs to be shared. And if you're watching this, like, the biggest thing we need as a company is we need people to share the company. We need people to share the mission. We need people to engage and start changing this narrative of, weakness around mental health, the shame of not reaching out. Like, we would never do it with a physical injury. You'd go to the doctor, you'd get surgery, you'd get medicine, you'd get fixed. We have to start treating the brain exactly the same when it comes to these quote unquote diagnostics that make it seem like it's just a willpower spiritual issue, you know, like that is my biggest need and hope with your community, is like, help share this mission, get it out there, because we're going to come up to a point in the next 9-12 months where nationally, hopefully the YMCA is carrying Brain Fit to every gym, or at least every region has a gym that has a program. And if you are helping share this mission, and someone is out there and they are suicidal, they're a veteran or a firefighter, a cop, a nurse, a teenager, and they come across this content, they come across this knowledge and go, you know what, that does sound right. Like, I might have an issue with my body or a physical injury. I can't afford $3,000, but you know what, I can go get a YMCA membership or go to this other partner that they have, and I can afford $30-$40 and I can go do it at their location. Like, the outreach is going to save more lives than any amount of money I could be given or any amount of platform. Like, we just have to share what is going on, because I talk to people and they go, why has no one ever said this before?
That's,
my loved one might still be here if we knew that they had this injury, instead of us kicking them to the curb. Because what do you get told by professionals in mental health right now with addiction? Let them hit rock bottom, leave them alone. At some point you got to let go.
How sad is that? Knowing what everything that you know now, that's our medical response.
It breaks me. It's why I created Neurova, because I was that broken while I was owning rehab. Like, could you imagine if your wife came home today and said she had breast cancer, and you're like, well, go hit rock bottom and I'll help you? No one would do that.
But
if your loved one had a drug addiction and you
got to learn,
got to go hit rock bottom. I can't help you till you want to help yourself. What the fuck are we doing?
Meanwhile, your brain is firing on.
It's not firing at all.
Yeah. A couple of pistons are firing, the rest
the lights are off. You know?
That is terrifying when you hear it, how our medical field, that's just how you put it in those terms of just, well, let them hit rock bottom. But in reality, from what you guys are learning, it's like, no, as soon as you guys see a pattern, as soon as you see them on that path,
they should be getting into a cognitive task program. It doesn't have to be Narova. There are so many awesome brain clinics around this country that have been screaming. We also help with these mental, categories of outcomes. Like cognitive effects is an amazing one. Provo, Utah, my partners. There's the brain clinic in Austin, Texas. There's a brain alliance in Denver. Like they're everywhere, but nobody is really hearing these guys because let's be honest, doctors are not good business people.
no.
And small clinics are run by doctors that care.
Yep.
And so their marketing's not the best. Their messaging isn't getting out on the right platform. There are places out there right now that's not just us. It's not just me and my team that have this awesome outlook. We have an amazing deliverable product. We do. I think, in my opinion, we are the number one in the world for being able to reach you where you're at. But there are so many amazing doctors and clinics in the country and in the world right now that are making an impact in these spaces with their protocols. Some of them take insurance, some of them don't. I don't know their specifics.
Yeah.
I'm not part of their business, but it's not like it's just us in this vacuum and I'm the only one with a picket sign up saying this message. There are thousands of us across the country saying this. The problem is that the mass majority of our population, our civilization, are not discussing this. And until we start talking about this, like we talked about, the awesome thing that happened in the early 2000s, this is your brain on drugs, brain on PTSD. Until we start getting a nationwide movement talking about these things, the people that need to know about it are going to miss it. They're not going to hear the information. They're not going to hear the message. They'll miss it and they'll miss their window where they could make an impact on their loved one to save their life. So if you're asking me what I need, the wild chaos is, if you're watching this, share the shit out of it and help us share the message of this is not a willpower thing. This is a physiological injury.
So I guess another question I have, let's say I'm a wife. My husband is struggling.
Okay.
He's got some traumatic shit, even it's say war versus in childhood, everything in between. I am the wife where I'm at my wit's end. How do I get this on my husband? Or on my child, on my spouse, whatever it may be. Right now, obviously, I know you guys are still growing, but what's my option if I have a struggling loved one that needs this?
Okay, so you're watching, and the sales are live online, right? I would say the first thing I always tell anyone who's a loved one of someone struggling is we tiptoe around a lot of shit in life, right? Like we walk on eggshells, we try to avoid the conflict, or when we go into conflict, we go into like a war mindset. And my approach has always been, we've had a couple times already in the development of this and kind of the piloting and getting feedback where we have been brought people who didn't know about it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't believe in it because it's too simple or whatever. And the loved one brought them to us. And my advice always has been approach them with kindness and love and just say, hey, this might benefit you. Not that I know this is going to work or absolutes, just this might benefit you, might benefit us, might help us. Right? Make it about a team thing. Don't make it about just you or just them. You are married. In your analogy right now, it's a wife. You're married. You took vows. You love this person. They might be the father of your children. Approach them like you'd approach them when things are good. Right? We're going to make this investment. We are going to make this investment. We're going to make this money. We are going to buy this headset and do it with them. Like no one wants to do things alone. Right? Like, hey, we're going to buy this and we're going to do this protocol together. I think it'd be really good for both of us. It might be good for me in how I react to things you say or whatever it is. Like, I think it benefits everybody. So I do think if you're a wife out there and your husband's really struggling, newsflash, you're probably struggling too.
100%.
Right?
It's
like,
a trickle. Everybody feels it.
It's not a fucking vacuum. If you are struggling as a spouse with your other spouse, I don't care how perfect you are, professional you are, you're struggling too. It's always a team sport.
For sure.
You both suffer from it. And so I think you both can benefit from it. I mean, I would be a liar if I say my wife and I don't do protocols. My wife and I just did a protocol together when we got back.
Protocol's a session?
Protocol's a week long, the 35 minutes a day for an hour a day.
Okay.
The game that comes out in May when we go commercials, instead of playing rounds and the setup where time kind of the time commitment's not a set number. When we say like 35 minutes, 30 minutes, 47 minutes, it's because it takes however long it takes that person to get through a round, and then the in between of restarting the round and going through. The game that's coming out with our commercial release in May is one set experience. Think of it like a roller coaster, a start and a finish.
Okay.
And my engineers have not given me the set time, but I've heard 33 minutes a bunch of times for the start to finish. And so you're less than an hour of time investment. My wife and I just not even 2 months ago went through this together because we, like all married couples were having this period of our life where we were just irritated at everything the other person said and we didn't know why. So we just did a protocol and we were like, all right, we were good. We didn't even have to talk about it. Like we were just like, yeah, we were just running 100 miles an hour. We needed a moment to cool down and slow down together.
And this is from the gun and shooting.
Yeah, you're shooting guns.
So that's where I guess I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it.
When you hear guns and shooting, you're probably thinking like John Wick and like bad guys and, and it's not.
But it's just an exercise for the brain.
Yeah. So I think the moment you play this, when we're done and you play this, you're like, oh, I get it. Because you're on the back of a gun truck. And then you go out of a bunker and you're in an airfield. And you're just silhouette pop, like gongs outside, silhouette pop-ups on the wall inside. When you're talking about guns and all the mechanism stuff, it sounds way more intense and engaged than it really is.
For sure.
Like,
okay.
Much better, like, wait a minute, this is not what my brain was thinking of a shooter. Like when you hear a shooting game, you're thinking what we know of shooting games in today's entertainment environment, which is Call of Duty or Battlefield or, Hitman, whatever it is, Grand Theft Auto. Our brains go to create that story, but really the story is it's a lot more boring than it sounds. But it's still fun and engaging.
It's what we need.
But it's exactly what the amount of pressure your brain needs. And it gives me a platform to be able to help someone that needs it extremely easy. And maybe they struggle with balance and the life has led them to be maybe overweight or struggling physically, where from a cardio engagement standpoint, they're going to be sucking wind within the first 2 minutes versus the high performance UFC athlete that they're doing this after a sparring session because I need them to a certain point physically before they even get into the environment. So that way we can push them on the hardest difficulty and get that eke out of the brain because of where they're at. It gives me that range where if we built a more entertainment version of the game, the range disappears.
Oh,
because if it starts off fast paced, high adrenaline, I lose a giant population that can't even get there.
Got it.
Whereas like if we're ramping it, I can reach people at the very bottom of the spectrum with capability and at the very peak of the spectrum of the capability on the bell curve instead of just trying to get the middle.
Yeah.
So accessibility goes up. Our biggest goals, when my wife and I intentionally built the company, we sat down, she goes, what are your 5 biggest goals? And I was like, I don't have 5 goals. She goes, well, what are your goals? And I remember 5 because she kept saying 5 because I think at the time the company she was working at did like leadership courses and stuff. And it was always around these like the core 5. But she kept harping me on 5 and I only came up with 2. And the biggest 2 were accessibility and affordability.
Okay.
Like everything else just fed into those first 2.
Because if this thing's hard to get and it's super expensive, what's the point of it?
Exactly. It was the rehab I was running.
It's an elite thing. Yeah, you might as well send your kid to some $70,000 rehab and just hopes and prayers.
Yeah, I could say impact, and if you don't have impact, you don't have a product, and accessibility, affordability don't matter. So that's a given. That's not even but I have a product that works. I could make it really hard to get and really expensive to drive the price up because then people are fighting for it. And, I'm selling a system for $40,000, but why? The whole point, I started all this because I was upset. I got to keep telling people that they couldn't afford it and I couldn't take them into my program. Well, now we've made it affordable. We've made it accessible. I don't have to have that hard conversation with people anymore. Like, I don't have to be the bad guy in someone's story. I'm sure there are people out there like, oh, I sat down with him. We were on our 3rd mortgage and we couldn't go to his rehab because we couldn't afford it. They probably think I'm a bad guy.
For sure.
I would think I'm the bad guy in that story from that perspective. And it's the whole reason why I left and I created this. And so I don't regret it. It taught me a lot of things we put in the system, but I definitely am now making up for it.
Yeah.
Right? Like the accountability of it in my mind is where we're going with this. Like,
if you close your eyes and dream about the future of this company and your ultimate goal of where it would go, what would that be?
I would like to see Neurova Labs in not only every YMCA gym in America, but I'd like to see it in every school in America.
Ooh.
My mind is like,
oh shit, I didn't even think about the kids.
Our youth are this generation coming in. We've already seen the impact it's had on the military from a boot camp perspective. They now have their cell phones because the addiction to the phone is so bad that the attrition rate for graduation without cell phones is atrocious. Oh, dude, it is horrific. It's a national security crisis.
You're fucking with me right now.
I'm not.
They're allowing kids at boot camp to have their phones now because the nutrition rate was so high?
Yeah, because the addiction to it is so bad, they've had to modify standards. That way they can get them through.
Oh,
because addiction to this technology.
Okay.
If we think it's bad right now, wait until the elementary COVID generation graduates in the next 5 years. We are screwed. I would love to see Neurova not only in schools to help with schools that maybe don't have resources and counselors, something that a kid's acting out, they can go to an office, they can play a video game for a few minutes and go back to class, and now their brain's been re-engaged to the prefrontal. They're not emotionally responsive and reactive.
I would love to see
back to cognitive model, and then put them back in class where they can learn, right? That would be amazing vision. Like, how do we get this in every school in America? But the second thing I'd love to see it on is I would love to see when you join and you enlist and you get to in-processing before you start, whether it's the Marine Corps, Army, Navy, Air Force, you are given your headset. You, in the 2-week process, you do a full protocol, and then they take the headset from you and they put it with your personal belongings. You go do OSIT or boot camp or whatever. You graduate and they give you your personal belongings and effects, and they give you your headset, and that equipment goes through your career with you. Because think about it. If we could break a phone addiction and put you in your cognitive mind before you start boot camp, what's your outcome likelihood going to be?
Not even a boot. I would do that right now. I hate saying I have a phone addiction. I do. So I have to admit, because all my businesses are run on it.
Yes.
It just sucks me back in every fucking day, and it drives me nuts. And that's why I can't wait to the point where we're like, I'm hiring out everything for my phones. But so this is just, that could help even somebody like myself.
Yeah. From a performance standpoint. Now, I'd be a hypocrite because my wife's probably watches be like, you're addicted to your phone. I run all my businesses on my phone too. And so
sucks, bro. It's like being a crack addict, and then you're
the worst.
Living in a fucking meth house. Like, you just it's so tough, man.
So when we started this podcast, I threw my phone to Nate.
Yeah.
Because like I've caught myself, if it's in my pocket, I'll just be like, oh, calendar update. It's not like I got to check my Instagram reel, but it's like, oh, what popped up from work? Like, we're having a good conversation. Is it important? Mm-hmm. Nah. If somebody's dying, I'm sorry. I wasn't able to get to it. I've intentionally put it away. And I've had to set intentions to put it away for certain things in my life. And I was not successful able to do that before this. Now I can. But it's not 24/7. I'm perfect, right? It's still, I have the cognitive ability now to think it through and be like, I'm about to do this podcast with Bam. Get rid of the phone. So I'm here, I'm locked in. Same thing at home with my family, with my kids or my wife. Like, everyone's like, I want to lock in on this, putting the phone away. And then there are other moments where like, I really have to focus on work and I'm in my phone. And then I get stuck with the same thing. I'm sure you get stuck with it. Like, I'm working on something, and then 2 seconds later, I'm like, I'm going to scroll for 2 minutes. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, God damn it, back to work. And
what was I doing?
All of us struggle with it. And if you say you don't, you were a liar. Mm-hmm. And this headset is not a silver bullet for phone addictions.
Yeah.
It does help from a cognitive ability to be able to separate from it. So yes, it would help you. It's not going to make you instantly better.
For sure.
Yeah.
Man, you got quite the incredible thing going on here. This is I'm glad I got to have this conversation. Don't forget about us little people when when you're on a fucking then the stocks on going public one day.
Never going public.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Never going public.
I don't blame you. I've watched a lot of companies do it. It never ends well for at least the founders of it. But
yeah, you go from trying to build a product that people love and want to use to I got to make more money for my shareholders, and that's where I think everything gets ruined.
Yeah, it dies there.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, this is a pretty incredible thing. I'm excited to try this. I've never put one on. Do I have to be standing for it, or can we sit here? Oh, you do?
Yeah. You gotta be able to stand and move.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about drugs, alcohol, traumatic stuff, but I feel, I'll speak for men.
Yeah.
We struggle on a lot of other things. I have a private community for dudes that are all walks of life. And a big thing that men struggle with these days is porn addiction. We always want to think about addictions as drugs, alcohol, but there's porn, there's there's a million types of things. Have you seen this system, not just for the drug and alcohol side of things, but also be able to help people with random addictions and things like that?
So we actually had a real world one. We just got done with a study about a month and a half, 2 months ago that we were conducting. And what was really interesting is one of the participants that came through when we were doing our qualifiers, and quantifiers are like, do you have an addiction, anything else? Like, nothing flagged. We got done with the whole week and we were doing exit interviews, and the exit interview was like, it was one of those like stop moments, like, holy hell, like, thank God this guy was a part of this. Like, he came in and he talked about like how for that week when he got home, the first thing on his brain wasn't suicide, but it also wasn't like his porn addiction. Like, I got to go watch porn.
Okay.
And he lived in this like crazy vicious shame cycle of like being so addicted to it that it was like, he had no ability to create like a romantic relationship with women. So a single dude in his 30s, living alone, and his existence was going to work, leaving work, and then going home, and he'd watch porn, and then, think about suicide. And he's like, hey, I don't know if this is just a weird one-off, but like, since using this system, I'm not struggling with this for the first time in my life.
And he had never mentioned any of this.
And he never mentioned, so it's not like we were going into it like, oh, we're going to focus specifically. Like, had no idea until his exit interview that was an outcome that was possible, because I'm not struggling with it. Like, it's not something that, when I'm using it, I can notice like it's veteran PTSD, I noticed what I was struggling with go away, so I can talk to that. But like, it was an experience that I didn't quite even think about could be a possibility until it popped up in an exit interview and one of our use cases of like, holy hell, like,
oh shit,
that's something we needed to know. Because how many, and you have a private community, and I'm a part of a Bible study where we have a group of men that talk about it. And at one point in my life, I did struggle with addiction to, lust and pornographic material, being exposed to it as a child. Like, I wish I had opportunity for this when I was 20, like 20 to 23, that part of my life, losing my identity as a soldier, and then, a wheelhouse of like divorce and relationships, like,
been there.
Like young and dumb. And that's the road I found myself on. And thankfully I found my own way out of that. But if I could have just did this as like a boost to that recovery and to that process, dude, I would have given my left arm for it.
I don't mean to sound ignorant or to downplay this.
Okay.
By what I'm about to say. So don't take any offense to this. But everything that you're saying, how guys are going into this for just a test, and it's healing in aspects of their life you didn't even know about. I'm not saying this is such a primal, primitive piece of equipment, because it's not, but I feel in the world of technology we have, it's just so hard for me to sit here and be like, I just have to put this VR set on and it's going to start. And I get, obviously, you with explaining everything, like, why isn't the whole entire world, why is our FDA not pushing this? It just seems so, it's, I guess not primitive, simple.
Yeah.
It's such a simple solution. We're not doing surgeries, years of therapy, other pharmaceutical drugs or whatever they have to do. You're not doing ayahuasca. You're not traveling to the fucking Amazon and drinking teas and have to go on trips and find shamans. You just put this on for, let's say, 33 minutes, I think you said, a day. That to me is mind-boggling. Like that's where I'm having not a hard time wrapping my head around it, but if this is what you're saying it is, like, how is this not just wildfire through the VA, through the hospitals, to pick up a set of this, to put in schools, to put in colleges? Like, I see a real world application for almost everything. I mean, even if you didn't even know anything was wrong with you, you could put this on and go through the system and it might tweak little things here and there. Like a porn addiction for the guy that didn't see it. So I guess I don't know even if it was a question or just more of a statement, but it's just I don't want to say this is simple. I know there's technology that is well beyond me.
Dude,
and
I'm not an
probably
engineer.
you.
I don't understand half of it, and I'm the CEO.
How do we get this in the hand? I mean, obviously spreading the words, but something like this, it's sitting on this table can heal you in so many different ways that you don't even realize it. It's just that to me is where I'm like, okay, is this not everywhere?
So I'll give like a qualifier to that, right? Is we have not commercially released any product yet.
Okay.
So it's not out in the sphere to go wildfire. Okay. Fire doesn't exist to burn through the planes. What I will say is that what we've seen is like with partnerships, one of the partnerships we started with just 2 headsets, and they're like, that's all we're gonna need. And that turned into 4, that turned into 6, which turned into 8. Now they're at 18 because it's just impact of like, holy shit, this continues to work on so many different people, different walks of life. And it scaled so fast in just their little ecosystem that we know when commercial we launch, it's going to blow up in their sphere. And then we have like veterans. Like I got to sit down with 2 heroes of mine, like good men that I'm fortunate enough to call friends and work with. Lamb, he's a Army Green Beret, and then Cody Alford, who's a MARSOC Marine veteran.
Cody, tattooed Cody's from Northern. He's from Coeur d'Alene. I don't know. I haven't been connected with him. I've had a lot of people.
I will
try
connect
to
you.
connect
I'm going to connect you with Cody.
Okay.
Cody's awesome.
I just like to hear his story. He seems like a solid ass dude.
I love both these guys, and I was familiar with both of their stories before I met them professionally. And when I told both of them about this product, we sat down at Lamb's house in Denver, and we filmed a video that hopefully comes out here soon. We sat down, and my goal was to have like a conversation like this, and I just sat there and listened the whole time because I was like, holy shit, I'm not going to talk. Both of them thought this was bullshit. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to play a video game and I'm going to feel better. My life's going to get better. And you know, both their testimonials from it was like, I didn't believe it, but I was willing to do a week. I'll give you a week of playing your dumb thing. If nothing happens, nothing happens. But just them going through it and then believing and jumping on board with our company and sharing our product, they're now like, I get text messages from, I have multiple of these guys are like, hey, I'm introducing you to so-and-so. He was a sergeant major of this group, or he was a staff sergeant here or an officer here. Like, they're suffering right now. Can we get them a headset? Can we put them on the list of the headsets you got out? Well, we have 5 headsets traveling the country right now that were supposed to be marketing headsets going to influencers that are now we're sending them to people that are in need. I think John we have 2 we are officially managing as Neuro Labs, and I got 3 that I just bought and gave out that are like, I'll call one dude that I know it was with. I'm like, hey, you know, do you have the headset you can mail me? He's like, oh, I gave it to so-and-so. And we call so-and-so. And he's like, oh, I used it. I'm doing awesome. I gave it to so-and-so. And it's like, hey man, I track that headset down because I got another guy that needs it. I got to send it to.
Yeah.
And it's like a dude 7. Like I gave it to one, it burned its way through 7 people.
That's got to be pretty incredible though.
Probably
terrifying to track your equipment down. But
it sucks. I have no more emotional attachment to those headsets.
Yeah.
I view those headsets as stolen.
Yeah, you need to put
gone.
a freaking track.
That's the last thing veterans need is like the big government's tracking me.
Yeah, no,
big
you need
brother.
to hide
Brenden's.
a freaking Apple tracker or something in that thing.
But no, I view it as like those headsets have been given out. They're gone. They're burning their way through communities. And if I need to track one down to give it to somebody else, I've been able to do that. But when you talk about like, you know, why isn't this out there? Mainly, we have not launched a full product. We're launching a full product in May for the first time ever.
Oh shit!
It's not like this has existed for 5 years and we've just been like sitting and waiting for the phone to ring. Like we've had so much success in development that I don't think most companies that are MVP stage or they're building a product, they don't see success until their product's launched and then they're a year or 2 down the window.
Yep.
We're seeing so much success and user success and stories of like lives changed and saved, and we haven't released a product yet. Like that's the craziest part of all this is like, if you looked at just our impact metrics, you would call us a successful company. Like we're like, oh, how many lives have you saved? Oh, you guys are closing in on, you know, you're over 500 and you're closing in on even more. Like by the end of this summer, we're going to be close to 1,000. Like we haven't even commercially released, and think about just that number of how many lives touched. That's crazy. Like as a veteran, 11 years ago, if someone told me those numbers, I'd be like, you have figured something out that no one else had.
For sure.
I would be in awe. And now that we're here, I'm like, oh, dude, I can't wait till we release because it's just going to blow up. And,
Yeah.
you know, we've been talking about the why, like to be fortunate enough for a YMCA to take a risk on us for a pilot for their 3-phase approach, that mind, body, spirit, to look at our product as to fill one of those 3 gaps and take it on. And then to watch their investment that they've made just internally, where they've hired employees. They've created this program called Brain Fit. It's like a Zumba class in their gyms. You go to the gym and you do this for a week. Like,
I'm not gonna lie. The whole entire time we're sitting here talking, I'm like, dude, I can buy 5 or 6 of these. You know these cold plunge clinics?
yeah,
Why couldn't you have a brain function clinic where you buy a bunch of these, you come in there and you have your membership?
you could.
That's where my brain immediately
From a
went with it.
financial responsibility, I tell you not to do that because you're competing against somebody who just go spend $3,000 to have it at home.
Yeah, but who's gonna spend $3,000 to go have it at home when you could have a? Why couldn't I just go buy a
$50.
a
Yeah.
cold plunge and stick in my backyard with a sauna?
I guess you're correct. Maybe you're smarter than I am from a business standpoint. I don't know. I don't have that answer, Bam. But I will tell you, I am in awe of what we've done so far. And
You should be, bro.
If your thing pops off, like, I don't see why any therapeutic, like equine therapy, veteran programs, nonprofits wouldn't have some of these. I don't see why, if you're a parent and you have children at school, why you wouldn't have one of these. I mean, the fight with my kids before we had a MVP, I would spend an hour yelling at them for homework, just banging my head against the wall. Like, why can't you do this? It's 1 page. Like, just get it done. And they're twiddling their thumbs or messing around, running around the kitchen. We got our MVP done. I put all my kids through a protocol. And not only can they just sit down and knock out homework, but like now it's like, hey, go pick up dog poop. They're like, oh, whatever. They'll go get gloves. They get it done. Task oriented, done. You know, they're in the middle of playing another video game. Like, hey, you guys got to get up here and empty the dishwasher. And they can walk away from it. Dude, to get my kids to walk away from video games a year ago, you would have thought I was murdering them. Just the attitude and the screaming of just like, no. And I don't let them play many video games.
Yeah.
Those aren't even the addictive ones. Like, that's just a child on a game doing something they love, engaged in something. I mean, dude, I couldn't imagine my kids were playing something like a Call of Duty where they're just sucked into something. Like, no way am I going to be able to get them to walk away from that and complete a task and go back. Now my kids crush it. But we make my kids do this once a month. Once a month, they play 2 or 3 rounds.
That's it.
And we're
Just
like,
a
all right,
preventive maintenance.
not even a full protocol. It's just like, hey, go play the headset. Like my 15-year-old acts up, like, hey, you need to go do it. Go play the damn game.
And you see that much of a drastic
Oh,
difference?
it's changed my relationship with my kids drastically.
All from just a preventive maintenance once or twice a month
Yeah.
for 30 minutes.
Not even when it's preventative, they're doing like 2 or 3 rounds of our MVP, which is like 15 minutes.
That's impressive. Your whole team's pretty impressive, man. Good for
I'm
you guys.
surrounded by giants.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Where did your faith come into all this? Obviously, you didn't grow up with in the household of
No.
believing. So when did all that switch? Because you brought it up a couple times earlier, and
Yeah, so faith is interesting because I feel like, especially in today's world with content, like, yeah, I don't know how you feel, but like I feel like everybody's content platforms have shifted to, before it was like how to be an alpha male and a killer, to how do you find God? Because that's like the new trendy thing. So I don't want to come off as like when I'm saying trendy or anything. Like my relationship with God, like I'm not a big public speaker on it. I'll talk about it intimately because of how much it's changed my life, but I found God not through ayahuasca or psilocybin or psychedelic event or not even really in war. Like, there's no atheist in a foxhole, but I was such a young, dumb 19-year-old that like God was the last thing on my mind in those firefights, right? Like I was thinking about my team. I was thinking about, and then when I lost team members and I needed someone to blame, it was always God. Like he's not real. If he was real, he'd still be alive. My friends wouldn't have died. Like that's where my blame went. I found God. I had like my little fall apart moment and just started driving and past my exit. It just kept going and going and going. And if anybody's driven south on I-15, there's this corridor as you pass Vegas. You get into like Baker, California, there's an alien gas station stop. And even I don't talk about much with like even my wife and stuff, but like that we stop every time we drive through Baker, that like gas station, because I found God from a dude that walked up to my window and knocked on my window at 3:00 in the morning when my life was falling apart. And I remember I pulled in that gas station, like that parking lot's huge. And I parked, there's nobody around me, there's no other cars, and I was pissed. And they always say, like, you know, if you really call out for God, he'll answer. And I was like, if you're fucking real, prove it. And as the thought left my head, a dude knocked on my window, and I was like, grabbing my concealed carry, kind of crack it. I'm like, what the hell? And he goes, hey man, it gets better. It gets better, and walked away. He didn't ask me for money. It gets better, and walked away.
That was it.
And I was like, all right. Well, I called, you answered. Like I didn't know what the next step would be. And I started believing God more, but I did the one thing that I think I recommend to everybody is as an adult, I wanted to really understand the Bible. So I started reading it for real. Like, how do I go through this process of how does my analytical mind understand this? Right? How do I take a verse that has 100 different meanings, put it into context in which the book is written in the time, and apply it to today? And doing that, you start kind of, you know, looking at, we just had Easter, right? You start looking at like historical context around the stuff. We all believe in Alexander the Great. Do you believe Alexander the Great existed? Mm-hmm. I think people at home would believe. They've went to school and they taught about Alexander the Great. There are 5 main manuscripts from 2,000 years ago that talk about Alexander the Great.
Same with like Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan's like 3.
Yeah.
His DNA exists, right? Like those there's 25,000 manuscripts about Jesus. We have no problem not even thinking if Genghis Khan was real or Alexander the Great. When it comes to Jesus Christ and his story, there's 25,000. I'm sorry, but that's overwhelming evidence for my analytical mind.
The fact that he walked with Caesar, but Jesus walked on the planet when Caesar was alive.
Yeah.
And people will still deny that.
They'll still question if he really existed, right? We know not from just the way his followers wrote about his crucifixion, but from Romans themselves and their manuscripts, what he went through. Take the garden out of it. Take the sacrifice of the garden and just look at the punishment, the crucifixion. And you know, I think it's convenient because we're talking about it right around Easter and it's been on my mind, but the scourging of his body, 39 lashes. He didn't get 40 because he might have not been guilty. They gave him 39, right? His groin, his back, where bones were probably exposed. Mm-hmm. It was so bad that one of them came up and blinded his eye. You think about just the torment of that on a body. Then you think about the crown of thorns. And then you think about giving you 118 pounds of an uneven weight. That's how much the cross weighed. And then expecting that individual to walk 2,000 steps. Dude, there's not a human alive who could take that burden and torment. Then the spiritual burden of everything else, right? Of Simon helped him carry the cross and couldn't. And he went back to doing it alone. That to me, like when I was fighting cancer and I struggle with my faith or anything else, I think back to that specifically of like, I've been through a lot of hard shit through the military, through contracting, through civilian life. I never, even with everything I've gone through, I don't think I would have been able to withstand 1/8 of that. Even as hard as I feel like I am and as tough as I feel like I am, even for the love of my children, I don't think I could have endured that. And it's not just borne witness by his followers or his creation, but it's borne witness by his enemies. That tells me everything I need to know analytically that it happened. Mm-hmm. And if that can be true, and then I look at my life and all the things that at the moment I thought were the worst thing to ever happen to me, and just the pain and all the bullshit that got me to today, there's no way I couldn't sit here and tell you I don't believe in God. I'd be a liar. And I meet people now that are on the same path I am, that are doing things like Lamb, Cody Alford. We were present for his baptism at the Core Medical Foundation. Sidney Gorman, the CEO and founder of Core Medical, Colton Hill. Just so many men that I'm surrounded by that I believe God put in my path, my circle now while things are about to blow up to keep me grounded, to keep me, to remember where I'm at, remember my values. Like that doesn't happen accidentally.
No.
And I don't think people find their faith accidentally. I think when it is your moment for you to re-find your faith, it's because it is your moment.
100%. Because I'm one of those people. I can't stand the Christians. You need to find God. You need a closer relationship with God. You need to do this. Because that's how my parents were my whole life. And even now, you need to. And then I ask people, well, how old were you when you found Christ? Yeah. How old were you when that moment that brought you to your knees and at the foot of the cross, how old were you? And that's where it's everybody's own journey. Now I'm going to always plant the mustard seed, with buddies of mine, but I'm never going to force and push it, because obviously I think when you start going that route, it just turns people. That's how I always was. When I fell away from my faith,
reactive,
immediate. I'm going to react. Nope. Walls closed off. Don't want to hear it. That's why I just plant the mustard seed to just start the thought, start the conversation. Leave God a voicemail. You don't know how to pray? Cool. You don't need to. That's the best part.
I still don't know how to pray.
I talk. Dude, I'll cuss. I'll drop an F-bomb in the middle of a conversation. I'll get into some deep shit and in my thoughts, and it's just, but it's between you and him and that. But that's where I'm with you. It's your moment, and when the timing is right, when you truly reach, and then when God reaches back, and then that's when you start to see. And it doesn't mean life's going to get good.
Oh no.
Doesn't mean your businesses are going to start blooming and you're printing money and your marriage is fixed and kids are great. It could actually go complete opposite. But that's where it comes back to being a true believer and believing and hanging on to that faith and hanging on to the hope that everything is true that you believe. And that's where I get frustrated with some of my buddies. I'm like, oh man, you just give God the steering wheel. That's where I'm like, God, you got steering wheel, take it. It is if it's in your will, let's go. If not, shut it down. And that was one of those things that took me a while, are those dangerous prayers. Hey, if this is in your will, make it happen. If not, shut it down. I don't want it. I'd shut it down. I have a couple of things right now in my life that are going on. I'm like, everything's telling me to shut it down. And these could be life-changing for us, but I just sitting on it, I don't have it. And so that's where it's, when you find that, when you feel it, just reach and start the conversation.
Well, and listen.
That's
my biggest thing was I can look back at life and see where God reached out and I didn't listen.
Yep. And
that's why I think what you said, when people tell you you got to go find God, that's impossible. I'm sorry, but until you make your intention and you're going God will keep reaching and you're going to keep missing it. Mm-hmm. And I missed it so many times earlier in life that I can now look back on and be like, well, there was a moment. There was a moment. I went way left on that. And holy shit, was it planned? Because me going way left led to this, to this, to this. And it's crazy. It brought me all the way back. Last week, there's a pastor that did this video on the amount of connection points in the Bible. And it's this, I don't know if you've ever seen the graph,
rainbow,
65,000 connection points written over how many years?
Thousands of years.
My life, when I analyze my own life and those missing God and how it came back, I have my own little graph of those crazy paths that all brought me back to where I'm at. And I think anybody that's trying to push God on somebody, you're truly doing what you're saying is you're burying the opportunity for them to maybe hear it at that moment. I heard it in a parking lot. And then I have to keep hearing and looking for my moments of when things pop, or how do I live a life that is inspiring enough that someone that may be curious about it will then seek it out without being preachy, without being pushy, without I don't want to be the guy that wears it on my shoulder and every conversation I'm throwing God at you because you will turn people away from
for sure.
It, right? But I want people to be like, oh man, this guy's crushing. I want to run a company that allows families to go on the road trip with us for a work trip. I'm going to do something that podcasts never do. I'm going to break the fourth wall. We're going to Deadpool this. But Nate, how worried were you when you were like, hey, Miranda's going to follow us on this work trip? Anxiety, right? that if I truly believe in God, I truly want to build a company that says like we have values. Well, there's no better value than the importance of family. Like how you as a husband, as a man treat your spouse tells me what kind of business partner you will be. How you treat your
100%.
children will tell me what kind of leader you will be in the company.
100%.
Like, that to me is important. So like, why wouldn't I be like, yeah, you know what? Screw it. We're changing our Airbnb plans, everything else. We're going to get an RV, drive with the families, and we'll get different Airbnbs. Like we can adjust. And, you know, he sent me an article on like, you know, billionaires got interviewed and, you know, what the psychology of what money does to people. And I've always had the belief that like the amount of money doesn't change outcomes because it doesn't change character, it exposes it. So if you have really good character, when you have 2 zeros in the bank account, that really good character is only amplified when there's 5.
I'm 100% agree.
But if you're pretending with 2 zeros and then you get 5, well, now I don't have to pretend anymore because I'm rich, and it exposes character. Like,
absolutely,
I want to be the guy that, you know, if you're in my circle and you're in my life, that you're inspired enough to be like, I'm going to make some changes in my life to go do something, because I've had great men in my life who've inspired me to become who I am today. It's not like I just had this idea. I've had amazing men that I've personified, and I want to be that. So if it happened for me, I could make that for someone else. At the end of the day, we're all just copying. The biggest man to do it himself is Jesus. Like, I'll never ever get close enough to that, but I can try. If I help somebody find their path to that, then I've done my job. And you're a veteran, you've gone to war. Like, I feel like there's this sadness for the younger me that was that man during that time. I have sadness that I didn't have a father figure like myself or a mentor enough to change who I was in that moment. And, you know, we talk about guilt with the wars, or like, you know, did we go fight for corporations, or was it all a lie? Was it all worth it? I talk to veterans that say this, and it's like the number one common theme with veterans struggling with like crazy PTSD of like suicide, depression, you know, addiction, like this crazy ideation. Is this guilt that they didn't do the job they thought they were doing. And at the end of the day, it comes down to like, can you forgive your younger self? Because where you're at now, you can start making different changes. We cannot change what we did. I can't change if that war is illegal or just or whatever. I didn't make decisions. I did not even get to pick when I ate meals back then. The military did. I can't carry guilt for there was nothing in my power to do. I just did my job. But I definitely can forgive my younger self, because if Jesus can forgive me, who am I to say I can't be forgiven?
Facts.
Like, I'm going to stand in the way of my own blessing. Like, that's ridiculous. It's not good. And you explain this to veterans, and it's so funny when people have the ability to self-analyze. That prefrontal we talk about, like fixing with our headset, that, you know, turning the lights back on. So many guys tell me that like they kind of refine their spirituality with it, because a lot of the times when I'm praying, at least I'll talk about it just personally, I'm in my vehicle just having a conversation with myself.
It's between you and him.
Like I'm talking to God by talking to me.
Yep.
And analyzing me, and like, did I go too far left? Did I go too far right? Did I screw up? Do I need to apologize? Like, I don't get on my knees and, hey, Lord, like, I don't have that ritual around prayer. I have conversations and check-ins with God and myself when I'm alone. And that's why I say I don't know how to pray. Maybe I don't think there is a right way. Maybe I'll figure it out eventually if I'm doing it wrong.
Well, that's why I'm with you on that, because
the Catholics are probably like, no, you're praying wrong.
Yeah, the Orthodox Christians are like,
absolutely not. Yeah, I don't know. But my system works for me, and it makes my marriage stronger. It makes my ability to be a parent better. It makes my ability to lead my company better. It keeps me clear enough to ignore bullshit to accomplish the mission that I have set out for myself. And as long as that mission aligns with what I believe is morally correct with my spirituality and what God wants of me, we've never had barriers. The moment those two depart and it gets into a different realm, there's always barriers. And I've come to the belief, like with business, like you're cutting stuff away from your life. I get to a point with projects where I'm done. I don't care how much money I've had invested in it or whatever. I will walk away from it, and I will put energy into something else that's bearing fruit. Because obviously me being in this moment with this opportunity, it's not working, isn't for me. Maybe somebody, whoever fills that gap,
for sure,
it could blow up. But for me in that moment, God doesn't want me there. I'm going to go figure something else out. I'm just going to take off and do it. And it is, every time it's hard. It looks easy because I do it. But God, dude, those moments alone, like in the shower or driving when you're talking with God.
Dude, bro, the shower conversations
Bro.
are deep.
Yeah,
Deep.
that's where grown men cry.
Yeah.
No one can hear you.
For real, dude. Yeah.
But that's I'm so tired of seeing the Jesus content that doesn't feel authentic or real. Like it even gives me like this aversion, and maybe that's the intention, is gives you that aversion to even acknowledge it. But I have no shame in it. Like I am who I am with it. And if I come off preachy, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's just who I am as a person. It's not a reflection of my company or my team, but it is me as a person. That's who I am. That's my platform. If you don't like it, I apologize, but that's just what I believe.
To apologize over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe one day they'll find God. If you are
Hopefully.
upset about it, like hopefully, or whatever that is to you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, your past years to walk.
That's our episode. We had Chris Ayub. He's the executive producer of the religion business. They go in, they dig into the establishment of religion, like the churches and these pastors that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and the
Production churches.
the LDS church, it's worth hundreds of billions, about to be $1 trillion company and all that. Anyways, he was a question on here. He said, this is something that I ask everybody, or everybody should ask themselves, is your faith yours? Or are you putting it into a church? Are you putting it in other people? And so that's where, with me, everything falls back on me. And that's my relationship. It is my connection to God and how I feel and how I'm changing and developing. Now I want to spread, and I want to, like I said, just cast out a bunch of little mustard seeds and let them start growing in buddies and friends and listeners, which happens. I mean, we were just at an event the other day, and this guy walked up to her and I, and he's like, dude, because of your podcast, he's like, my whole family's back in church. I just got baptized. He's like, it's changed my whole entire life. Just hearing these conversations, and it's not pitchy. It's not an agenda, but I asked because it was brought up earlier, and it just gets brought up. It's pure organically. But then these guys and wives and women and children and everybody else that are listening to this, they see how it changes our guests and how it's changed my life and our family and my daughter and everybody else have been able to hear it. And it's one of those things that I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but I regret fighting God. I regret fighting everything that he's just here. Just reach, my son, just reach. And I'm fucking too tough. Nope, I don't need it. I got my own shit. And then I had a guest on, and he said, the most alpha shit you will ever do is bend the knee to Jesus Christ. And dude, you want to be the ultimate man, you want to be the ultimate leader of your home, worship God. And he will put everything ahead of you and lay it all out. And it's one of those gut check moments. And that's when I, really start thinking of that stuff. And it's like, it's the ultimate. If you want to be the ultimate alpha and a true alpha form of leading your home spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, put God first and watch how everything starts to align and the stars start matching up, and just how doors start opening and things that you want out of your life start closing. And yeah, and I fought it for years. And now it's one of my biggest, like, oh, why did I not just bend the knee?
I hope you let that go, man.
What's up?
I said, I hope you let that regret go.
It's not, I don't want to say it's like a regret I hang on to, but it's one of those but it's obviously I've been able to think about enough. I went through all of that to get to this stage and to create who I am, to have that shell. Because my wife, she's like, you're the biggest M&M in the world. She's like, you got this hard ass shell.
And
she's like, exactly. And she's like, but that's just through life and work and business and mentors and military and failing and getting let down and everything that comes along with our journey built me to who I am today, to be able to have these conversations and be God conscious and curious about things. I still have a lot of questions. I'm not one of those Christians that have read the Bible from start to finish, I'm
at 61% according to Kindle. So
did you know that only 13% of Christians have read their Bibles?
I believe it because I've been reading it for coming up on a year, and I'm at 61%. So like,
it's a lot.
It's a hard text to get through in today's context. Like I don't blame people for trying and then failing. Like it is very hard to get through, but like back to you said, like that regret, like the seasons, I'll call them seasons, right? Of like pushing away from God, give us the contrast to be like today, like the love of it, like Dude, if I hate hearing someone's testimony of their faith and then you hear their life story and you're like, how do you have faith if you've never been tried?
Mm-hmm.
Like Kyle from Stay Humble Pray, a friend of ours, listening to that man's story of finding God in solitary confinement for 3.5 years, no contact with anybody, pacing his wall to wall in his 7-foot cell. Like, dude, you want to talk about God touching a life? Like, that's intense. Like the fact that the only thing that saved you and made you who you are today, and helps you through the struggles you still have today, is that God touched you in that moment. He didn't have it there for you before. Like, that's inspiring to me. I don't want to hear the guy that, silver spoon fed, everything's never had a trial, because odds are that faith crumbles because it's based off of an environment,
For sure.
because it hasn't been forged. I want the guy that's been through life and has been folded and heated and pounded by life that then finds God like I did, because I don't have a compromised faith. Like when I was a kid, it was one of those things, like when I was 19 looking at the murder videos from like ISIS, you get ready to go over there and you're like, why don't they just say they're Muslim? Why don't they just convert?
Yeah.
I used to have that ignorance, right? Of like, why don't they just say they're Muslim and then still practice their own religion and talk to God, right? Back then, that was my mindset on it. Like, oh, that's dumb. You're going to get burned in a cage. You're going to let somebody cut your head off. I'm at the point now in my life where, like, yeah, I'll let myself burn in a cage or get my head cut off, but bet your ass before I get to that point, I'm probably going to kill you.
I'm going down swinging because
my version of Christianity is crusades, right? Like
facts.
Defeating the encroaching,
I'm
tribes.
going down.
Like
going down swinging, but I'm not bending. I'm with you, dude. I'm dying on that hill. This is how I believe. I
got a stage after this that I'm ready for. And I don't think there's anything scarier than a man that has found his belief and his faith and has a mission to accomplish. That's the most terrifying man. And you see it in our UFC fighters, you see it in our first responders that we work with. You see it in our salesmen that we work with. Like, the moment someone has set a true goal and a true faith, and it's like the stars align and their momentum is insane. And I'm so lucky with this technology. Not only do we get to help heal people, but we get to help be part of people's stories of momentum.
Yep.
That to me is just
lighting fuses, man.
Holy shit. And it puts more gas in your tank.
Yep.
When you get to see someone's momentum shift, it makes when it's hard and you're an entrepreneur, like, you get it. And some of your listeners might be entrepreneurs. Like, it gets not only lonely, but draining of that tank gets low. The fumes get there and you're like, do I want to do this? Like, I've made no money this month. I could have made $4,000 working at Walmart. What am I doing with my life? Yep. Like, you think through that moment, but then you see momentum that you got to be a part of or touch, and the tank goes back to full and you can move forward. Like, that for me is that's the spark, and it fuels my faith, because without those moments, my faith wouldn't. I don't think you can have true faith without the retouch points throughout your journey.
For sure.
It's not one moment. It's a series of them.
For sure. I think that is a great note to end on.
Yeah, me too.
That's perfect.
Thanks, dude.
Dude, I'm proud of you, bro. I don't know you from shit, but I am proud of you, because this is not only being a veteran, but to build a team built off of such incredible people. Dude, I hope nothing but success for you guys in saving lives, changing lives, and especially in veteran and everybody. There's no demographic here, from kids to vets to wives to firefighters, you name it, is able to benefit from this. I hope nothing but success for you guys. This is really cool, man. I'm really happy for you. And if there's anything that we can do, obviously, to the voices or to the ears that tune in every week, but man, congratulations on everything. I hope this is just the beginning for you and your team.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, dude, this is pretty cool. Thanks again for swinging by.
Yeah, let's put you in it.
All right, let's do it.
Let's
All right, we're going to do it.